Chapter 1356. A luxurious hall was right in front of them. It was a magnificent building, beautifully decorated and brightly lit. Even though it was already dark outside, it was as bright as day here. All kinds of luminous pearls and jades were embedded on the stone walls, adding to the extravagance. However, at this moment, they were no different from useless stones in his eyes. Emperor Lien Zhixin. Lin Feng's eyes shone with a cold light. His pale face was filled with killing intent. Whoosh! Like a sharp arrow piercing through the air, the terrifying murderous aura caused the luxuriously dressed man who was leading the way to shudder. He subconsciously dodged. Before he could recover from his shock, the gray figure behind him also shuttled out, and the killing intent was completely uncontrollable. The terrifying power made the man in the luxurious clothes purse his lips, and his heart trembled. Looking forward, the man in the luxurious clothes vaguely understood something. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two sharp arrows, one black and one gray, shot out rapidly. The shocking killing intent filled the entire hall, and all the guests' gazes gathered. The center of the hall suddenly became clear. Lin Feng's eyes were burning and he gritted his teeth. The boiling killing intent was rapidly approaching, as if it was the prelude to an explosion. Clang! The purple crystal spear in his hand shone brightly. Lin Feng clenched his fists, and his veins popped out. Golden light shone from his forehead, and his body changed in the blink of an eye. The thunder slaughter armor appeared with the appearance of the gold origin, and the horn on his forehead bloomed, and the power of thunder appeared like lightning. Battle mode. Ever since he comprehended the spear technique, Cloud Rising, his doppelganger had never shown such a 100% battle mode. Because there was no need. But now, Lin Feng did not hide it at all. Jin Ji, who was following closely behind, was shocked. Looking at Lin Feng's back, he felt an inexplicable sense of security. Even if there were countless experts in the hall, and there were many Saint Kings, it was as if as long as he followed Lin Feng, there was nothing to be afraid of. Clang! Lin Feng's eyes were burning, and he looked straight ahead as he sped forward. The two women could be clearly seen now, but they were surrounded by a few three-eyed monsters that looked like both humans and demons. Shi Zhixin's aura was weak and strong, and there were no obvious wounds on her body. But Thousand Love Emperor was lying on the ground, and she was not breathing. He couldn't sense it at all. You're courting death. Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly, his killing intent boiling. There was no need to look to know that the culprits were the three-eyed monsters, especially the three-eyed monster king, who was sitting on the ruby chair. Its head was larger than the other three-eyed monsters, and the third eye on its forehead was even more terrifying. Heavenly Soul Master. And it was a race that he had never seen before. Most likely, they were from other neutral races that had come for the meteor. But so what? Mystery, Sparrow Kill. Lin Feng's killing intent blossomed. A dense killing intent surged out from the depths of his heart. The killing intent caused his hair to stand. The terrifying power was being imbued. The power of the Ursa Major constellation was completely released. His eyes shone brightly. Even though they weren't special pupils, his killing intent seemed to have found an outlet through which to vent. The image of a vermilion bird could be faintly seen. Arcane Sparrow Kill. His heart's reaction had never been so clear. He could feel the existence of the vermilion bird deeply, and felt the swelling killing intent in his body. In the 108 steps of the fearsome ground, he had never fully understood the arcane Sparrow Kill. Now, he seemed to have touched the barrier, the bottleneck, and was closer than ever within reach. Feeling the surging power, the cold glint in Lin Feng's eyes intensified. Extreme anger. Only when the killing intent was released from the heart would it be the true killing intent. It was the true essence of the arcane Sparrow Kill. Clouds Rise. Lin Feng finally made his move, causing a commotion around him. Even though everyone had noticed Lin Feng's arrival, and the explosion of killing intent from this human, No one thought that Lin Feng would really make his move. This was Yen Imperial City, and killing and fighting were prohibited in any area. But now Lin Feng had really made his move. No scruples. Even though Lin Feng had advised Jin Ji not to be rash, seeing his teammates and friends die in front of him, Lin Feng could not suppress his emotions at all. Now, even if the sky were to fall, he would not care. Everything would be destroyed by his killing intent. He would not let Qian Lian Huang's death be in vain. Hua! The fragmented white fog dispersed and gathered into a cloud. The cloud with golden light appeared quickly and violently, as if it had appeared out of thin air, but also as if it should have existed in the first place. Strength, force, aura, all transformed into an angry spear strike. Even though Lin Feng could not keep his calm, his spear strike was clean and tidy, without any sloppiness. The realm of his spear techniques had already reached a rather high level. Just like walking or eating, he could already use his body and rely on his instincts to explode. Boom! It was as if the sky had been broken. The three-eyed monsters group was also stunned. Lin Feng's arrival and attack came without any warning. They did not expect anyone to make a move here. Moreover, he was just a human martial artist at the peak of the martial saint level. Although the three-eyed monster king was shocked, there was no fear on his face. He was a martial saint, after all. Humph! A hoarse and unpleasant voice rang out, attacking Lin Feng. As if an order had been given, the three-eyed monsters immediately resisted and counterattacked, as if they were obeying the three-eyed monster king's orders. Hua! 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 5 streaks of bright light appeared, released from the eyes on the three-eyed monster's forehead. It was an invisible light, an extremely pure power, an attack derived from the aura of the soul. It shot directly at Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng saw for the first time how strong the attack of 5 martial saint heavenly soul masters was. Boom! His head felt as if it had exploded. His eyes were red. Lin Feng felt as if his soul was being torn apart and eroded. But how could he retreat? Die! Lin Feng gritted his teeth, and blood flowed from his mouth. His will was focused, his mind was focused, and his killing intent was completely unleashed. How could he take even half a step back? Even if he died, he would avenge Qian Lian Huang. Whoosh! The three-eyed monster's expressions changed. Especially the three-eyed monster that was being targeted by the spear. He was completely stunned. Although the third eye on his forehead was shining, it was still terrifying to be close to a martial saint heavenly soul master. Especially when this martial saint heavenly soul master was not afraid of death at all. #at! He screamed hysterically. The three-eyed monster was terrified. At this moment, the three-eyed monster king finally attacked. Its third eye opened as if it had burst open, and a terrifying light shot out. It roared fiercely and attacked Lin Feng. Its terrifying power was far stronger than the combined attack of the 5 three-eyed monsters. It was like a chain descending from the sky. Bang! Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart felt as if it was about to jump out of his throat. He felt as if his soul was being squeezed. A terrifying aura rushed to his head. Get lost! Lin Feng went crazy, and his eyes were bloodshot. The horn on his forehead rumbled as it released its power in all directions. It ignored the surrounding hall, and an astonishing destructive power burst forth. At this moment, facing extreme pressure, Lin Feng's blood seemed to boil. The image of the ancient divine beast lightning centipede appeared behind him, and its eyes carried extreme pressure. Whoosh! This time, it was the three-eyed monster king's turn to be shocked. It could not block it. Boom! The power of the spear was terrifying. The spear move, cloud rising, exploded with power and stabbed toward one of the stunned three-eyed monsters, instantly destroying its defense. The spear that pierced the heart carried a terrifying destructive power. Lin Feng's killing intent was overflowing. The power of the mystery sparrow kill was displayed without a doubt, and his killing intent and spear perfectly merged. It was like a hot knife through butter, unstoppable. Chi. It directly pierced through, and the astral source power exploded violently. Hashtag and percent. The hissing sound rang out again, and a crazy arc appeared. However, at such a close distance, the surrounding three-eyed monsters were hysterical. The terrifying power of a martial saint heavenly soul master blasted out again, including the three-eyed monster king. Purring! Lin Feng's eyes were cold and his aura exploded. The two sides violently collided, shaking the entire area. The entire hall was in chaos. Boom! Like an earthquake, the two sides separated. It was a mess. Lin Feng's hand flashed, and the amethyst spear that pierced the three-eyed monster's chest appeared again. Whoosh! Shi Jixin fell to the ground in a daze. She could not stand steadily, and Jin Ji hurriedly supported her. On the other side, Lin Feng's aura brushed past, and Thousand Love Emperor fell to the ground. In the distance, the remaining four three-eyed monsters glared at each other angrily. The three-eyed monster king had already stood up and landed in front of the other three-eyed monsters. Its third eye was as sinister as a crack, and it stared at Lin Feng with intense anger and hatred. He too was enraged. As the prince of the heavenly eye race, Ming Wushuang, he had never been provoked like this before. But now he was being humiliated by such a lowly human, who actually injured his guard in front of him. It was a naked insult. From afar, Lin Feng stood with the amethyst spear in his hand. He was not afraid at all. Jin Ji took a step forward and stood beside Lin Feng with a determined expression. He was using his actions to express his attitude. Since they were in the same team and brothers, they would advance and retreat together. If they fought, they would fight together. If they died, they would die together. As a man, he would not back down even half a step. Around them, the guests had gathered and were discussing softly. The explosion of aura just now could not hurt them. The guests who could enter this place were either rich or respectable. How could they be ordinary experts? Almost all of them were sage-level existences, and there were many sage kings. They looked at Lin Feng and his group curiously. Those who dared to fight in Yen Imperial City were not ordinary people. "Human, how dare you?" A hoarse and unpleasant voice rang out like a lizard's. The one who spoke was the three-eyed monster king, and it spoke in the language of the ancient tribe. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly, and he looked back fearlessly. The eyes of the three-eyed monster king were not scary, but the sky eye on its forehead gave people a horrifying feeling, making their hair stand on end. However, it did not matter. Lin Feng's eyes shone and he was ready. Since it was a battle, then let's fight to our heart's content. Today it was either you die or I die. He would not let Empress Qian Lian die in vain. His eyes flashed, and he was ready to recall his original body. He would temporarily suspend his cultivation and fight to the death with the three-eyed monster king. To deal with it, only his original body was strong enough. Chapter 1357. A great battle was about to break out. Both sides were filled with anger and killing intent. It was destined to be a battle of life and death. Lin Feng had never been afraid of a battle. Especially now that he was strong enough, he had nothing to fear. Other sage kings might be a threat, but heavenly soul masters, he had the advantage. Lin Feng glanced at Thousand Love Emperor, who seemed to have stopped breathing. He gritted his teeth. His heart was in pain, and killing intent surged from the bottom of his heart. Although he did not know what had happened, he could not let these murderers leave peacefully. They had to be buried with Thousand Love Emperor. Clang! Lin Feng looked at Tong Wushuang coldly. The latter was also furious. As the prince of the Heavenly Eye tribe, he had never been humiliated like this before, let alone by a lowly human. How could he tolerate this? If this spread, he would lose face. Buzz. Xiling. His third heavenly eye opened. Soul force was released, converging into a magnetic radiant. Psychic. The Heavenly Eye tribe was a heavenly soul master, and they mainly cultivated the psychic Tao. Be it the demon tribe, the sorcerer tribe, or even the ancient tribes, who were all heavenly gods, none of them dared to provoke the Heavenly Eye tribe. Among the neutral tribes in the Doling world, the Heavenly Eye tribe was undoubtedly one of the most troublesome tribes. They were petty and lustful. Most importantly, they were all heavenly soul masters. When fighting with a heavenly soul master, even if one's strength was one level higher, one could be severely injured. Moreover, it was very difficult to recover from the injuries caused by a spirit. This was why the Heavenly Eye tribe was famous. This human is unlucky to be entangled with Tong Wushuang of the Heavenly Eye tribe. I don't think so. That little guy's spear skills were quite good, and his mortal soul defense is also good. Tong Wushuang will have to spend a lot of effort to deal with him. What a joke. How can a peak sage fight a sage king? Tong Wushuang just did not use his full strength. Just watch. With his strength, it will be easy for him to deal with a mere human. If you don't believe me, let's take a gamble. The surrounding strong practitioners were discussing with great interest. In Yen Imperial City, it was rare to see such a scene. Killing and fighting were forbidden here. However, Lin Feng and Yen Wushuang could no longer suppress their anger and killing intent. A fierce battle was about to begin. Pung! The auras of both sides instantly exploded. Take good care of them. Lin Feng did not even turn his head, but Jin Ji knew what Lin Feng meant. There was no time to reply, because just as he finished speaking, Lin Feng rushed out like a gust of wind. Golden light protected him, and his blood seemed to boil. Jin Ji's eyes flashed. He knew that this was not the time to be stubborn. Firstly, he had to take on the responsibility of protecting the two women. Secondly, with his current strength, it would be too difficult for him to participate in the battle. These three-eyed monsters were too strong. Even if he was unwilling, Jin Ji knew where his strength lay. Perhaps dealing with ordinary three-eyed monsters wouldn't be a problem, but against a Saint King grade three-eyed monster, he was definitely not its opponent. If he participated in the battle, he wouldn't be helping. Instead, he would be a hindrance to Lin Feng. Rather than that, he might as well do what he should do. Humph! Yen Wushuang snorted angrily. Light flashed in his hands. Even though the situation in the hall was disadvantageous to him, he didn't care. Yen Wushuang had absolute confidence in his own strength. If he couldn't even deal with a mere Saint King and had to rely on the geographical advantage, then he wouldn't be a prince of the Heavenly Eye race. Zeng! Light flashed. Yen Wushuang's hand moved, and two figures appeared in front of him. One black and one white, one tall and one short. They were the auras of two puppets. Although he was a telekinesis master, any heavenly soul master would have different cultivation and mastery of different branches. Yen Wushuang was not only a telekinesis master, but he was also a puppet master. Zing! Zing! The two puppets appeared instantly. They didn't fear pain or death. Even injuries had no effect on them. Compared to martial artists, they didn't have a soul. This was an advantage, but it was also a disadvantage. 7 Ultimate Heavenly Star Bead. Lin Feng's eyes were firm, and his expression was calm. His training on the 108 steps had not only increased his strength, but also his knowledge. His various combinations could be said to be excellent. This three-eyed Monster King's combination was only the most ordinary application. He was very clear about the combat methods of a Heavenly Soul Master. Zing! 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 Black light flashed. The appearance of the 7 ultimate Heavenly Star Beads stunned Yen Wushuang. However, with the appearance of the black and white puppets, the telekinesis attack arrived at almost the same time. His vision blurred, as if he had entered a strange realm. Yen Wushuang's expression changed. Array! 7 Ultimate Heavenly Star Array! Rise! Lin Feng's expression was serious. He raised his hand and slashed it down without hesitation. The simplest way to deal with a puppet master was to use an array to trap his puppet. This was one of the most fatal aspects of puppets without a soul. Perhaps they didn't feel pain or fear death, but to break the array, a heavenly soul master had to rely on his own abilities, time, energy, and understanding of array formations. But these things, whether the three-eyed monster king had one or not, he couldn't do both. Misty cloud steps. Lin Feng took a step forward. His 7 souls merged into one, and his physical strength was equivalent to a peak saint king. The surrounding guests were amazed. Lin Feng had appeared too quickly before, so the experts hadn't noticed, but now they saw him clearly. So fast! Wow, what kind of speed is this? A saint-level human? What a joke! The experts' eyes widened in shock. However, none of them could sense it as deeply as Yan Wushuang. At this moment, he was facing Lin Feng one-on-one. He was an insider. Damned lowly race. Yan Wushuang's eyes flashed coldly, but he was decisive. He immediately gave up on the black and white puppet. His hand gesture changed, and a bright light appeared on his wrist again. With a shout, a giant silver puppet appeared. It was not easy to create a puppet, especially one that was strong enough. It was necessary to have the best materials and refining methods. Ordinary clansmen of the Heavenly Eye race couldn't take out such a puppet. The price was too high, but Yan Wushuang was different. He was the prince of the Heavenly Eye race. How rich was he? He had as many puppets as he wanted, so losing 2 of them was nothing to Yan Wushuang. In his opinion, wasting one of Lin Feng's Khanate treasures, it was worth it. However, Yan Wushuang had neglected one thing. It took time to control the puppets, and the formation just now had obscured his vision. At this moment, Lin Feng's figure had already disappeared. Yan Wushuang suddenly lost sight of the giant puppet. While she was still in shock in a split second, oh no! Yan Wushuang's expression changed. He reacted quickly. However, it was too late. Qi. Lin Feng's black figure shot out of the array and attacked with the most direct and simple method. It was as fast as lightning. Yan Wushuang couldn't break the array, but how could Lin Feng not know it? Mystery, Sparrow kill. Lin Feng's eyes burned with killing intent. It was hard to imagine what kind of humiliation Thousand Love Empress had suffered. It was even harder to restrain the sorrow in her heart. All of it turned into killing intent and poured out. To him, the three-eyed monster king in front of him was an out-and-out murderer. He would never let him go. Die! Lin Feng shouted through gritted teeth. The spear in his hand shone brightly. He didn't dodge the giant puppet's attack, but went straight for Yan Wushuang. He had absolute confidence that he could block the giant puppet's attack and not die. But could this three-eyed monster king block his spear? Or did he have the ability to take it head-on? Even if he took 10,000 steps back, trading injury for injury would earn him more. One couldn't be indecisive when dealing with puppeteers. There was no end to fighting against puppet. Unless one could easily deal with the puppets, one had to capture the leader first. Damn it! Yan Wushuang was aghast. Only now did he realize how terrifying Lin Feng was. Only when he truly faced him did he realize how strong his opponent was and how good his judgment was. It was like hitting the weak spot of a snake, completely restricting him. If he controlled the giant puppet to attack again, only death would await him. His hand gestures changed, and he attacked again with telekinesis. However, the giant puppet switched from offense to defense. Yan Wushuang immediately moved to dodge. He used the giant puppet as a shield. Wow! The crowd cried out in surprise. These guests were all saint-level experts. Naturally, they saw through the mystery and praised Lin Feng in their hearts. Even the strong warriors of the sorcerer tribe had a deep impression of Lin Feng's decisive attack. Not everyone had such eyesight, judgment, or even courage. In just one exchange, Yan Wushuang, who had been favored, was like a stray dog, only left with the strength to resist. Was he weak? No, Lin Feng was too strong. After the trip to the danger zone and the 108 steps, Lin Feng's strength was difficult to estimate. Bang! An attack as heavy as 1,000 caddies struck the giant puppet. The enormous momentum was released with strength. Lin Feng's gaze was grave. He did not dodge at all. A telekinesis entered his mind like a tsunami. However, Lin Feng gritted his teeth and endured. A telekinesis master's attack was not terrifying. Against him, he also needed to consume soul power. Perhaps he would not be able to withstand it first, but in this time, he would be able to kill him. Injury for injury, what was there to fear? Since this battle had begun, he was destined to have no way out. Kill! Directly facing the giant puppet, Lin Feng attacked like a madman. He had absolute confidence in his own strength and body. The giant puppets found it difficult to resist the momentum, and even Yan Wushuang was shocked. They had never seen such a crazy human expert before. Not only did he clash with the puppet, but he also did not give it any chance to dodge. Controlling the puppet also required time. Bang! 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 Lin Feng attacked again and again without using any spear move. It was just a pure power attack, but it completely restrained the giant puppet. No, it should be said that he completely restrained Yan Wushuang. It was as if he was trapped in an area. Step by step, he forced him into a desperate situation with nowhere to run. When a psychic was only left with defense, and then defense again, in that case, his fate was already sealed. Only death awaited him. Chapter 1358. Boom! The giant puppet could no longer be controlled. It was destroyed by the repeated attacks. No matter how good the material was, it couldn't withstand such consumption. Lin Feng's power bombardment, supplemented by the explosion of star source power, killed the giant puppet with the purest attack. And Yan Wushuang, who had been busy controlling the giant puppet, no longer had any defensive power, and even, he didn't have time to control another puppet. Puppet masters weren't invincible. After experiencing battle after battle, Lin Feng knew where the puppet master's weakness was. How could he give the three-eyed monster king any chance to counterattack? Die! Lin Feng's gaze was deep. At this moment, there was a suffocating sound. All the experts looked at the scene in front of them, feeling incredulous. The prince of the Heavenly Eye Clan, a sage king-level existence, was actually suppressed by a mere human, and now he was in a desperate situation, almost facing death. How shocking was this? Chi! 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 The remaining 4 experts of the Heavenly Eye Clan immediately launched attack. Even if participating in the battle at this moment would make their prince lose face, they couldn't care so much. Compared to face and dignity, their lives were more important. Psychic power came from all directions, but Lin Feng's lips curled up coldly. Instantly, 7 black lights flashed around his body. 7 stars sky. Lin Feng shouted. The 7-star bead had 3 major abilities, and 7 stars sky was the defense. Although it couldn't block the psychic power attack, it was enough as long as he could delay it for a while. As long as he killed this 3-eyed monster king, the remaining 4 sage level 3-eyed monsters wouldn't be a problem. As for the black and white puppet that was originally restricted by the 7-star bead, would the 3-eyed monster king have time to control it? Bang! The aura exploded. Lin Feng's killing intent boiled, and the mystery sparrow kill entered his heart clearly. The feeling was deeper and deeper each time. He was close to mastering the mystery, and that wall was already beginning to shatter. He was about to come into contact with the unknown shore, where the constellation path was. Taking the most important step, entering the Sage King level. It was only a matter of time. But now, there was only killing. There was no mercy or sympathy, only anger, boundless anger. Thinking about how Thousand Love Emperor was killed just like that, his heart was filled with pain. Along the way, they had already established a deep friendship. Perhaps if he killed this three-eyed monster king, there would be endless trouble in the future, but it was worth it. He would never regret it. Die. Lin Feng's purple crystal spear vibrated. The purple crystal spear's light merged with the star source energy, and the light shone out for 10,000 zhang. His spear sense couldn't be any clearer. After his spear technique had been enhanced, he had already reached the peak of the saint level. He was only a step away from breaking through. The spear move, Cloud Rising Heart, appeared at will. Lin Feng's eyes were burning, radiance shot out in all directions, the cold aura appeared like a cloud. It was a simple shot, but it contained a great mystery. Break. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. A cold light flashed in the three-eyed king's hand. It was a defensive treasure. But right now there was nothing that could stop him. Pung! It was directly shattered. The spear's sense was incomparably clear. The crazy killing aura was like a vermilion bird's cry, tearing apart all obstacles. The killing intent turned into power and merged with the spear move. Under the shocked gazes of all the experts, it pierced towards the three-eyed monster king's head. It was an irresistible blow. The spear that pierced towards the monster's chest previously didn't kill it. Lin Feng's target was very clear this time. The head. The stronger it was, the weaker it was. It was most likely a vital point. If the head was shattered, the three-eyed monster king would definitely die. Its defense had already been shattered. A heavenly soul master's body couldn't block it at all. Ming Wushuang's face was filled with shock, his body trembling. At this moment, he even forgot to use the last of his soul power to fight Lin Feng. As the prince of the Heavenly Eye Clan, he had never been in such a situation. In the face of death, he couldn't even be compared to an ordinary warrior. He's dead for sure. It's over. This human warrior is so strong. At this moment, the spectating experts thought. Of course, no one would stop it. It didn't concern them. No one was willing to participate in such a battle. Not to mention who won and who would offend who, just breaking the rules of Yan Imperial City would have serious consequences. However, many things weren't inevitable. Even if the fruit was right in front of them, it might not be easy to pick it. Bang! Bang! Two muffled sounds rang out like thunder. Lin Feng's expression changed. At this moment, the surrounding experts were also stunned, their eyes flashing. Someone was coming. Lin Feng tightened his grip on the purple crystal spear. Pang Rant's aura seemed to descend in an instant, gathering in all directions. The appearance of this powerful force was no coincidence. It was obviously to save the three-eyed monster king. The terrifying force quickly contracted, trying to stop it and even warning him. But never. Lin Feng's eyes shone coldly. At this point, he had no way out. No matter what happened in the future, he had to kill the three-eyed monster king first. He would deal with the future later. Boom! The aura exploded wildly. Fallen Witch Mountain Range. The witch tribe was in chaos. Who would have thought that the demons would sacrifice their own lives to activate the Blood Fiend 10,000 Ghosts formation? In terms of individual combat power, the demons were far inferior to the witch tribe. Although the previous defensive formation was exquisite, it didn't even take advantage of the demons' greatest advantage: numbers. In the Second Great Witch Tribe War, the demons had the absolute advantage because of their numbers, which made the witch tribe unable to breathe. Who would have thought? Even the generals of the demons didn't know. Because they didn't know, their acting skills were superb. Because the battle was real, the witch tribe fell into the trap unknowingly. In addition, the witch tribe had always thought that the demons were brave but not smart, and couldn't use too profound a strategy. Therefore, they had always underestimated the demons. Even Witch King Jiang had made a mistake. Who would have thought that the demons would have the help of a benefactor this time? In terms of scheming, the witch tribe and ancient tribe combined might not be as good as the humans. This was an ability that the humans had been forced to use. In order to survive in the cracks, the human powerhouses not only had to work hundreds or thousands of times harder than the witch tribe and ancient tribe, they also had to strengthen their advantages. The ability to reproduce and wisdom were the advantages of the humans. They were second to none in the Doling world. The heavens were fair. Any race had its weaknesses and strength. Gomang was about to go crazy. Seeing that the army of the sorcerer tribe was deeply trapped but unable to do anything, they roared and ordered the army of the ancient tribe to attack. The origin energy bloomed like fireworks, attacking the blood fiend thousand ghosts array. However, the magnetic poles that could be attacked were protected by a mysterious force. Bang! 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 The magnetic poles shattered, and many witch tribe powerhouses could take advantage of the chaos to escape. However, compared to the witch tribe powerhouses trapped in the array, it was like a drop in the ocean. The broken magnetic poles recovered in the blink of an eye. The array formed by tens of thousands of mountains was extremely complicated and couldn't be broken at all. Gomang was considered half an array master, but he didn't have a clue at this moment. Seeing his clansmen trapped in the array, his eyes were bloodshot. He wanted to immediately charge into the array and save his clansmen. However, this idea was wrong. As the marshal of an army, he had to calm down and think of a way. However, what could he do? He saw that even Hutu and Xianming, the two witch kings, were trapped in the array. Their crazy attacks landed on the ghost soldiers, killing them one by one. With their strength, they were naturally unstoppable. However, they were at the peak of the Saint King level. But what about the other witch tribe powerhouses? Facing the endless saint-level ghost soldiers, they couldn't kill them. One batch after another, it was as if they were trapped in an illusion. Blood flowed like a river among the witch tribe powerhouses, and the number of deaths was close to that of the demon tribe. It was as if the demon tribe was seeking revenge. It was extremely terrifying. What should we do? What should we do? Gomang was sweating profusely and his body trembled. At this moment, he was nervous and desolate. Although he wanted to remain calm, but how could he maintain it? In the distance. No, I have to get out quickly. The demon tribe must be plotting something and setting up an inescapable trap. Witch King Zhang's expression was solemn, and his heart sank. The wings behind him cut through the space as he kept moving, fighting with the bull demon. Clang! Clang! Golden spears clashed. The two powerhouses had different degrees of injuries. The bull demon was slightly more serious, while Di Zhang's injuries were lighter. He had also used up a lot of his strength. However, the battle continued. The bull demon's physique was quite strong. Although he was seriously injured, it didn't affect him at all. At this moment, he was in a strange space. Di Zhang originally thought that it was just an ordinary array formation Kane treasure, but he didn't expect that to be the case. This place was like an independent battlefield, allowing the two to fight without reservation and without any worries. They didn't have to worry about any other factors. Previously, Di Zhang still had doubts, but as time passed, he was already very sure. The demon tribe's goal was to trap him. It's been 4 hours. With his fighting style, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to determine the winner in another 4 hours. Witch King Zhang's eyes were cold. Chaos was faceless. Red light flickered around his body, and the heavenly arc cut through the space. Witch King Zhang was already anxious. His intuition told him that the witch tribe army would be in trouble. Although he didn't know what methods the demon tribe had or what kind of inescapable trap they would set up, but he couldn't delay any longer. Even if he had to pay a high price, he had to leave. He couldn't be trapped here. It's a pity that the power fusion is still not enough. I can't use the power of the heavenly arc skillfully. I can only stimulate it with blood. Witch King Zhang's eyes were cold. His hand was like a cold blade, and he instantly cut open his arm. Blood dripped down. At this moment, the heavenly arc instantly lit up, crazily absorbing the blood as if it was hungry and thirsty. It flickered with a demonic color, and the heavenly ark was instantly covered in a bloody light, looking even more strange. However, there was a kind of power that was condensing. Boom! The bull demon's giant axe chopped down again, and which King Jong's heavenly ark shot out. Bang! There was a violent explosion, and the terrifying Gang Chi bounced the two apart, pulling the distance between them again. At this time, which King Jong's eyes were already shining, and his aura suddenly burst out. Go, Ark of Heavenly Wings! Void Light Blade! Which King Jiang shouted. Chapter 1359. Which Mountain Range? Sizzle! In the void, a crack flashing with the light of electrodes appeared. The shocking space energy and time energy seemed to have frozen the entire Lich Mountain range. A blood-red cold light broke through the air, bringing with it a sharp aura. Then, a six-legged, four-winged shaman dressed in a robe made of golden threads appeared. He was as red as fire and had 6 legs and 4 wings. Which Emperor Jiang. Bam! Which Emperor Jiang's expression changed as if his chest was on fire. He had exhausted his vitality to use the Ark of Heavenly Wings, which he had not fully mastered, and he was badly injured. However, he had to do this. Not good. Jiang's eyes were cold. He had just returned to the Witch Mountain range when he felt that things were not going well. His guess was right. The demon tribe had lured the snake out of its hole, and there was indeed a meticulous plan behind it. What a demon tribe! Jiang stepped on the Ark of Heavenly Wings like a phantom and sped away. His injuries were no longer important to him. What was important was the Witch Tribe army. This was a crucial battle. The Witch Tribe could not afford to lose. Jiang clenched his teeth. He was burning with anxiety. He had always been calm, but now he felt a chill run down his spine. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Everything that the demon tribe had done in this battle made him fearful. This was no longer the demon tribe during the second great witch tribe. Although they had learned from their mistakes, the witch tribe was much stronger after the second great witch tribe. However, the demon tribe seemed to have improved even more, especially the cohesion between the tribes, and the intelligence that the demon tribe lacked the most in this battle. It was all reflected. Damn it! Jiang clenched his fist. His emotions were fluctuating. However, he did not have time to think about this. As the leader of the witch tribe, he had no other choice but to face it. No matter how strong or weak the demon tribe was, the witch tribe had no way out. It was the same for him. Slap! Light flashed. Not long after Sorcerer Emperor Jiang left, the Bull Demon King also appeared. With a grunt, Bull Demon's eyes shone brightly. He pressed on the wound on his chest. His eyes shone slowly, but he did not chase after Jiang. His mission had been completed perfectly, and he had also enjoyed a great battle. He was very satisfied. As for whether the demons lived or died, or who won or lost the great Magi Demon War, what did it have to do with him? He was not a demon to begin with. Here it comes. Which King Jiang had finally arrived. From the time he came out to the time he arrived, it only took 10 seconds. Which Emperor Jiang's space speed was quite terrifying. Bull Demon couldn't catch up even if he wanted to, not to mention he didn't plan to. After delaying which Emperor Jiang for a full 4 hours, it was already enough for the demon clan to finish what they wanted to do. Sizzle! Sizzle sizzle! The entire region was in chaos. Countless ghost soldiers waved their sabers and slaughtered the powerful warriors of the sorcerer tribe as if they were slaughtering cattle. The broken mountain peaks flickered with a dark black light. With the help of the blood-red light, they formed a huge formation and completely trapped the sorcerer tribe. The slaughter was shocking. Roars and screams formed the main melody of the entire fallen Witch Mountain range. The sorcerer tribe was in a tragic state. This Sorcerer Emperor Jiang's eyes widened as he stared at the scene before him in shock. In just 4 hours there was such a huge change. The sorcerer tribe had already been defeated. Formation. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang frowned. No, it's not a formation. His gaze was profound as he looked at the hellish place. Even though countless clansmen were dying every single moment, Di Jiang remained unmoving at this moment. His gaze was like lightning as he watched all of this, and his heart was as calm as a bystander. This was what it meant to be handsome. The commander of an army had to be calm at all times and be able to face any unexpected situation. He wasn't like Gomang, who was nervous, confused. His instructions were unclear and he didn't know how to deal with unexpected situations. At this moment, Gomang was like an ant on a hot pan. Seeing that the attacks of the powerful warriors of the ancient tribe didn't work, he was thinking about what to do next. Should he fight? Or should he let the rear troops retreat first and save a point? Or should he personally lead the troops and fight with those malicious ghosts to see if there was a way to break this formation? With all these thoughts, Gomang only felt his blood boil. He had completely lost his ability to make decisions. His breathing became more and more rapid. However, at this moment, swoosh! A figure appeared like a ghost. With a golden light and a surging aura, Gomang instantly calmed down. He widened his eyes and looked forward. The cold sweat on his forehead instantly stopped. However, Gomang's body trembled violently. With a bang, he knelt on the ground. Sorcerer Emperor. Get up first, Sorcerer Emperor Jiang said. I'm useless and implicated the 3 armies. I deserve death. Gomang gritted his teeth. There were even tears of regret in his eyes. In Gomang's opinion, it was his lack of leadership that led to the current situation. Get up! Sorcerer Emperor Jiang suddenly shouted. His aura was imposing and he emitted a strong domineering aura. Gomang's body instantly stopped trembling. Raising his head, Gomang clenched his teeth and staggered to his feet. He lowered his head and hissed, Yes, Sorcerer Emperor. Tell me everything that happened after I left. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang's eyes were cold and bright. Don't miss out on any details. The problem could only be solved by returning to the source. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang knew that this wasn't the time to pursue responsibility. Moreover, he was partly responsible this time. After a long while. An evil sacrificial array. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang clenched his fists, his veins popping out. With his experience and knowledge, he was a top array master in the Douling world. If he still couldn't see the current situation, he wouldn't be a sorcerer emperor. It's been lost for a long time. Where did the demons get it? Di Jiang's eyes were cold and bright with deep blood red. He knew the power of the sacrificial array. Whether it was evil or not wasn't a problem to him. The process wasn't important. What was important was the result. However, he couldn't find it during the Second Great Sorcerer-Demon War. Who would have thought that it would appear during the Third Great Sorcerer-Demon War and be used by the demons? Turning the tables. It had long been predestined. Di Jiang naturally didn't know that this blood fiend 10,000 Ghosts array came from Lam Tok Ti. That day, Lam Tok Ti and the human demon Holy Lord had a great encounter and each had a great harvest. The human demon Holy Lord was killed because Lam Tok Ti had obtained the true treasures left behind by the demons. This blood fiend 10,000 Ghosts array was one of them. Shaman Emperor, how do we break this sacrificial array? Gomang asked apprehensively and guiltily. He really wanted to do something to make up for his mistakes. He wanted to make up for it and feel better. It's too late. Shaman Emperor Di Jiang's voice was hoarse. His words made Gomang's face turn pale and powerless. If we had discovered it earlier, even if we couldn't stop this sacrificial array, we could have minimized the casualties. Di Jiang looked into the distance with a cold gaze. But now, the main army of the shamans is inside. There's no way we can escape. If I'm right, this sacrificial array uses souls and blood as a sacrifice to summon this group of evil saber ghosts. Gomang's chest heaved up and down. His face was pale and he was completely dumbfounded. There should be a limit to the number of saber ghosts, but Dijiang clenched his fists and gathered his aura. In the array, the experts of the shamans are constantly being killed. They bleed to provide the sacrificial array with endless energy. When the sacrificial array stops, I'm afraid more than 90% of the shaman army will be dead or injured. Bang! Gomang fell to his knees and clenched his fists to support his body. It was all his fault. Careless, greedy, stupid. That was what led to the current situation, causing the shamans to be slaughtered. Get up! Dijiang suddenly shouted coldly while cold light flashed in his eyes. He didn't hesitate any longer, as if he had made a decision. This matter isn't your responsibility alone. Hotu, Xianming, and even I have made mistakes that can't be avoided. Don't shoulder all the responsibility. Yes, if you're a man, straighten your back. The battle is not over. Dijiang's shout enlightened Gomang. He clenched his teeth and stood up with a trembling body. If you're a man, don't give up so easily. He had to do something. If it's time to break it. Lead the rear army and retreat. Leave the rest to me. Which Emperor Zhang's eyes flashed coldly. He released his aura uncontrollably. In addition, remember to be careful when you retreat. With the meticulous means the demon clan has shown in this battle, they will most likely intercept your rear army. Gomang's expression kept changing. He cupped his hands and said, I will do my best. Which Emperor Jiang replied in a low voice. Yan Imperial City, Qi Ling Xian. Boom. A violent explosion sounded as if the entire hall had exploded. Fortunately, the experts in the hall were not ordinary people. When the aftershock of the Qi fell, it was offset by the experts' strength in the blink of an eye, keeping the hall intact. Even so, the surrounding walls continued to tremble, and the floor was even more uneven, having been blasted into pieces. In the center of the explosion, gray stones filled the air. On one side, Lin Feng held the purple crystal spear, his eyes shining. There were whispers around. They looked at Lin Feng from time to time, and then looked to the other side. Whoosh! The gray stone smoke slowly dispersed. Lin Feng looked over. Not far away, the three-eyed monster king lay weakly on the ground. Blood kept flowing out, but he was seriously injured and not dead. His eyes were full of hatred and resentment. His spear just now was enough to kill him. However, at the last moment, a powerful force suddenly appeared and saved the three-eyed monster king. The newcomer was very strong. A figure was shrouded in thick smoke and dust. A martial attire was gradually revealed. The tall figure was not particularly strong, but his proportions were well proportioned. His physique was not bad. His face was slowly revealed. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. His facial features were very distinct. He looked at Lin Feng with bright eyes. In front of him, there was an axe stuck vertically into the ground. Behind him, there was another axe, its blade gleaming brightly. The person who saved the three-eyed monster king was this man in martial attire who used two axes as weapons. Advanced Sage King Realm, human expert. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. Chapter 1360. Lin Feng did not expect this at all. In fact, he was not surprised that the three-eyed monster was saved. However, the one who saved him was a human expert. It was unbelievable. Other than the 12 sages and the demonic human lord, were there any other sage kings? Lin Feng frowned. He did not understand. However, the truth would not lie. The man standing in front of him had the aura of a human. Moreover, he was very strong. He was stronger than his doppelganger and was on par with his real body. However, he could not feel any killing intent or even hostility. Even though the man's aura had been directed at him and was intensely threatening, from the beginning to the end, the man's purpose was very clear: to stop him from killing and save the three-eyed monster king. It's the Northern Dragon Guard. Strange. Why is Hades' Northsman in the East City? Who knows? Lin Feng's gaze was deep. There were all sorts of voices. Although most of them were in the sorcerer's language, there were also some in the ancient language. The Northern Dragon Guard. He had heard Thousand Love Empress mention the power structure of Yen Imperial City. It was divided into the East, South, West, and North City. They were under the jurisdiction of Hades East, Hades South, Hades West, and Hades North. Each Hades king had 4 city guards under him. They were in charge of different areas and had different responsibilities. This man with 2 axes was one of the city guards under Hades North. He had a strong background. Little brother, do you know the consequences of killing in Yen Imperial City? The Northern Dragon Guard asked. His voice was calm, but his eyes were burning. A light punishment would be imprisonment. A heavy punishment would be death, Lin Feng said without hesitation. He had heard Empress Qian Lian mention these rules countless times before he entered the city, and she had even reminded him to follow them. However, there were some things that had to be done even if he knew they could not be done. Thousand Love Empress had died in a foreign land to help him find clues. If he could not even avenge her, what kind of man was he? He had to kill these three-eyed monsters. Purring. His killing intent was clear. The arcane sparrow kill condensed around him and turned into a strong killing intent. It was even stronger than before. Every time he attacked, his understanding of the arcane sparrow kill increased. Every time he used it, he seemed to find the key point and understand the true meaning of the constellation. He wasn't far from breaking through. Whoosh! Bei Longshuo's eyes flickered. He did not expect Lin Feng to be so unruly. Not only did he not restrain himself, he even became more arrogant. The Northern Dragon Guard's eyes sparkled, but he was still suppressing his emotions. He said in a deep voice, "So, you knowingly committed a crime. Capture him, my lord." Tong Wushuang's shrill and furious voice rang out as she pointed at Lin Feng. At this moment, he no longer had any of his previous awe-inspiring appearance, especially the bloody hole in his forehead, which was even more shocking. If the Northern Dragon Guard had not arrived in time, he would have been dead by now. Having narrowly escaped death, Yen Wushuang's hatred for Lin Feng had already reached the extreme. She wished for nothing more than to kill him 1,000 times over. Although he was afraid of Lin Feng's strength, with the Northern Dragon Guard here, he was not afraid of Lin Feng. However, clang! Lin Feng's purple crystal spear shook violently. It flashed with cold light as it pointed at Tong Wushuang. His eyes were filled with killing intent, causing Tong Wushuang's expression to change. She instinctively shrank her body and hid behind the Northern Dragon Guard. The surging killing intent was not concealed at all. Lin Feng's eyes burned as he looked at the Northern Dragon Guard. If you advance a foot, I advance 10 feet. Those who kill must commit suicide. There is no law. Revenge is justified. The Northern Dragon Guard frowned slightly as his gaze landed on Thousand Love Emperor. At this moment, Tong Wushuang's expression changed as she shouted, "My lord, please investigate. I did not kill anyone." "You still want to quibble?" Jin Ji's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted angrily. "Bah!" Lin Feng tightened his grip on the purple crystal spear. His murderous intent leaked out uncontrollably. "I really did not kill her." Tong Wushuang's face was red as she turned her head anxiously. "There are many people here who can testify. I just. After hesitating, Tong Wushuang's voice became softer. "I just had a small argument with her. Then, she just mysteriously collapsed. She was too weak. You can't blame me." Tong Wushuang looked around anxiously. "Am I right? A small argument?" Lin Feng's gaze was cold. He naturally did not believe the words of the three-eyed monster in front of him. Just as he was about to speak, suddenly, cough, cough, a few fake coughs sounded behind him. It was very clear in this tense hall. Everyone looked over. Lin Feng's killing intent relaxed as he turned his head. He was very familiar with this voice. It was the man in luxurious clothes who had brought him and Jin Ji here. "May I say something?" the man in luxurious clothes asked. "Oh, Dr. Ning has a way to revive the dead?" The Northern Dragon Guard's eyes lit up. "Dr. Ning?" Lin Feng was stunned as he looked at the man in luxurious clothes in disbelief. He was a doctor? The man in luxurious clothes, Dr. Ning, shook his head. Just as everyone was slightly disappointed, he slowly opened his mouth. "She is not dead. How can I revive her? Not dead?" Everyone was stunned. She was clearly not breathing. How could she not be dead? Lin Feng's expression changed instantly. His figure flashed and landed in front of the man in luxurious clothes, Dr. Ning. He bowed and cupped his hands. "Dr. Ning, I have offended you before. Please forgive me. May I know how my friend is now? Is she really not dead?" He was overjoyed. To him, revenge was far less important than Qianlian Huang's recovery. Dr. Ning nodded with a serious expression. "She is currently in a state of suspended animation. From the symptoms, this woman's soul has been severely damaged. Moreover, it has been damaged again and again." He raised his head slightly, as if looking at the Northern Dragon Guard. He said softly, "I'm afraid that her soul has been damaged again and has reached its limit. Therefore, she is in a state of suspended animation. It is actually a form of protection for her body." "Is this true?" Lin Feng's eyes lit up. If this news was true, it would undoubtedly be good news. As long as Qianlian Huang was not dead, everything else would be fine. No matter how serious her injuries were, there would always be a chance for her to recover. "Dr. Ning's diagnosis can't be wrong," the Northern Dragon Guard said slowly. Lin Feng stared at Dr. Ning. The latter nodded slightly to express his affirmation. "I told you that I didn't kill her. See, I was right." Gan Wushuang relaxed and shouted with his eyes wide open. "Now it has been proven that this despicable human caused trouble for no reason. My lord, quickly arrest this culprit as a warning to others." Everyone's attention was focused on Lin Feng once again. Using force in Emperor Yen City was not a small crime. Lin Feng's eyes were clear, but he was not afraid at all. To him, these were all small matters. After hearing the good news that Qianlian Huang was not dead, the rest, was it worth anything? Fallen Witch Mountain Range. Following Go Mang's orders, he led the rear army and the ancient tribe experts to open a path for retreat, which King Jiang also began to move. Time was precious. Every second, countless experts of the sorcerer tribe were killed in the sacrificial array. The ghost soldiers were endless. They waved their battle swords and continuously took the lives of the experts of the sorcerer tribe. Basically, the experts of the sorcerer tribe, who were not at the sage level, could not survive more than one round in the hands of these ghost soldiers. Even a sage-level existence might not be able to deal with these ghost soldiers. They were not afraid of death or pain. They were cold by nature. These ghost soldiers were born to kill. Other than Sage King-level existences and some Sage-level experts, the rest of the Sorcerer Tribe experts could not do anything to these ghost soldiers. Not only that, the sacrificial array was filled with dense magnetic light. It was also a powerful weapon to kill the experts of the Sorcerer Tribe. Although it was not as powerful as the ghost soldiers, it was superior in that it covered the entire array. It used fresh blood as its energy and was inexhaustible. Smack! Which King Jiang landed in the sky. He looked down like an emperor, his eyes burning. Although countless tribesmen were dying every moment, which King Jiang's expression was cold and calm. He was not moved at all. As a commander, he had to maintain a calm heart at all times. Only in this way could he make the most correct decision. Looking down, although there was a black fog, the thick fog that was not at the Sage King level could not block Di Zhang's eyes. As an array master, Di Zhang knew this very well. Although he had not come into contact with the sacrificial array, he had read about it in ancient Xian. Di Zhang had read a lot of books and had rich experience. The number of 399 is endless. It is not easy to break the array. For now, the first thing to do is to contain it. Di Zhang's eyes were deep. In less than 10 seconds, he made a decision. He could not be indecisive. Perhaps this was not the most correct way, but it was the fastest way he could think of at the moment. Time was everything. Although Di Zhang looked calm as he watched his tribesmen die, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. These were all his people. Swoosh. Di Zhang's figure disappeared in an instant. Whoosh. Like a phantom flashing, Di Zhang suddenly appeared. The heavenly arc under his feet was shining. A huge fine iron pillar appeared in his hand. Pung! It landed heavily on the ground. The top of the pillar was engraved with strange carvings. It was quite similar to the sky pillar in the ancestral Magi Palace, but it was thinner and shorter. Even so, this huge fine iron pillar was still very majestic and proud. It stood upright and gave people a feeling of awe. Puff! Di Zhang pressed his hand on the pillar. In an instant, sizzle! Sizzle! The pillar flashed with a ray of light. Like a crack, it quickly spread from where Di Zhang's hand was pressed. The carvings on the pillar were unusually bright and mysterious. In just an instant, Di Zhang disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in another place outside the Blood Fiend 10,000 Ghosts array. Pung! Another fine iron pillar fell down. It was the same giant pillar. The only difference was the carvings on the pillar and the position where it fell. Whoosh! The energy of the carvings was activated again. A kind of resonance seemed to be established between the giant pillars. 2 pillars. 5 pillars. 10 pillars. The giant fine iron pillars fell outside the Blood Fiend 10,000 Ghosts array. The carvings were shining, one after another. They seemed to be connected into a line, forming a huge circle of light. The strange carvings had shocking energy. They were shining more and more. Each giant pillar seemed to be a powerful existence at the peak of the Saint King realm. There were a total of 18 pillars. Magi Emperor Zhang's eyes shone with bloody light. Chapter 1361. Bang! 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 It was like an explosion, but also like a thunderstorm. The fine iron pillars shone brightly, and the energy from the engravings formed a connected system. There seemed to be something between the pillars, something connected. The power of heaven and earth appeared out of thin air, changing rapidly as the power of the engravings exploded. It's the heaven and earth refining array. Which Emperor Zhang's aura exploded. It exploded in the air. At this moment, the star source power was completely shining. Which Emperor Zhang's eyes were red as if he was crazy. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and his hair stood up. He roared as he crazily activated his power, connecting with this terrifying array. He activated it with his own blood essence. To which Emperor Jiang, it was not a burden that could be described, but rather a considerable injury. To get, one must pay. Even if his strength was at the top of the pyramid in the Douling world, it was not easy for Di Zhang to activate this Earth Fiend Hurricane array. Although it could not be compared to activating the Great Divine Fiend array during the Second Great Witch Demon War, it already consumed a lot of vitality. Boom! 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 It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The crazy array appeared and quickly merged with the Blood Fiend 10,000 Ghost array. The power of heaven and earth formed a frenzied power that exploded from the 18 fine iron pillars. Every fine iron pillar grew rapidly and expanded, just like the transformation of the witch race. In a short moment, they became hundreds of times thicker. They towered into the clouds. The changes of the fine iron pillars and the engravings shone, driving the entire heaven and earth refining array. In the air, which Emperor Jiang's face was ferocious. The burden of the violent aura gushing out was quite great, and it consumed his strength crazily. At the same time, the harvest was not small. The blood fiend 10,000 ghost array was instantly suppressed. On the same level, the arrays began to fight. It was like a battle between trapped beasts in the arena. Only the strong side could win. Boom! Boom! The magnetic light of the blood fiend 10,000 ghost array had already dimmed, and its power was greatly reduced. All the power surged out, resisting the power of heaven and earth and the explosion of the array's power, including those ghost soldiers. Although they did not kill them, but it made the ghost soldiers lose their supplies. Quantity. There was a limit to the number of ghost soldiers. Previously, it seemed to be endless, but in fact, it was because once a ghost soldier was killed, it would instantly replenish another ghost soldier with its soul and blood. However, the replenishment required the energy of the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts formation. It required a peculiar change in operation, and it also required the production of the carvings on each point of the formation. But now everything was occupied. Chi. Purng. Boom. The battle in the blood evil 10,000 ghosts formation was still going on, but many of the sorcerer tribe experts had already noticed the difference. The pressure had decreased by a lot. The power of the dim magnetic light was greatly reduced, and the changes of the magnetic light became even slower. Most importantly, the number of ghost soldiers was decreasing sharply. As the sorcerer tribe continued to kill, especially the powerful attacks of the Saint King sorcerer tribe, the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts formation was slowly being disintegrated. Besiege Wei to rescue Zhao. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang had chosen this path. Perhaps with his strength and understanding of arrays, as long as he had enough time, he would be able to break them in a simpler or even easier way. But he could not gamble, nor did he have the time to gamble. In order to preserve the strength of the sorcerer tribe army to the greatest extent, and in order to ensure the survival of his people, Di Jiang chose a stupid method. Like a foolish old man moving a mountain, he used the most direct method to break the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts formation. The result was gratifying, but to which Emperor Jiang, it was like the 7 injuring fist. He saved his people but hurt himself, but he had no choice. On the other side, Zhu Mang led the rear army and took the lead. His gaze was steely. His expression was tense. At this moment, he knew that he had made a mistake. He tried his best to mend the pen after the sheep were lost to make up for this painful loss. No matter how the witch emperor punished him, he would not have any complaints. Right now, he had to do his best to preserve the strength of the sorcerer tribe. Although the rear army was not as strong as the main army, there were still many experts of the ancient tribe. They were the precious backbone of the sorcerer tribe. Fortunately, the witch emperor had foresight. Although the sorcerer tribe army was severely injured, the experts of the ancient tribe were not injured. Zhu Meng's eyes were bright. He had truly been a marshal and had suffered losses. Only then did he know how powerful the witch emperor was. The seemingly insignificant order was rather effective. If even the experts of the ancient tribe were trapped in the array, it would be a serious blow to the sorcerer tribe. Although the sorcerer tribe army was much more powerful than the ancient tribe army, the ancient tribe experts were undoubtedly the ones who had the most destructive power against the demon tribe. This was the biggest advantage of the sorcerer tribe against the demon tribe. It was also the key to fighting against the demon tribe in terms of numbers. The ancient tribe army was made up of heavenly gods. They marched on in a mighty manner. However, with every step they took, Zhu Meng's heart palpitated. His intuition told him that it would not be so smooth. The witch emperor's words before they left were deeply etched in his ears. The demon tribe would most likely attack. Zhu Mang had already calmed down. His mind was agile. He was the general appointed by the Witch Emperor for this trip. What he valued was his potential and omnipotence. He was definitely a competent and even outstanding general. Zhu Mang's gaze was deep. He had already disregarded his life and death. Now, he only lived to atone for his sins. Bit by bit, he was slowly approaching. His intuition was getting clearer. He did not even need to rely on his intuition. He could sense the aura and even see with his eyes. Rumble! Rumble! In front, the ground shook violently. The extremely familiar aura of the demon tribe had already descended. They ran all the way and their target was rather clear. They're indeed here. Zhu Mang's gaze was deep. The 4 demon emperors led the troops personally. Each of them led an army with the elites of the royal family as the backbone and the experts of the other races as support. This sneak attack was planned long ago. The difference was that although the aura was powerful, there were not many demons. It was impossible to sneak an attack on the rear of the sorcerer tribe with numbers. Given which Emperor Zhang's shrewdness, he would definitely discover it. These demons had all been lying in ambush at the outermost periphery. Now, they had come out in a huge circle. That being said, the 4 great monster emperors had personally moved out. Not to mention anything else, just their formation alone was already quite terrifying. Blood Tiger Tribe, Kuei Tianyuan. Demon Fox Tribe, Yao Ji. Raging Bear Tribe, Xiong Bao. Dragon Bull Tribe, Niu Yunlei. He had personally led the elites of his tribe. This formation was much stronger than the sorcerer tribe. The weakest of them was a martial sage. Although there were not many of them, the combat power of each elite was too terrifying. They had appeared to eliminate the source of trouble and teach the sorcerer tribe a terrible lesson. They wanted to avenge the death of the vanguard. Could the sorcerer tribe hide? Yan Imperial City, Qi Lingxian. Capture him! We must put this human in jail. No, put him to death by 1,000 cuts. The 4 experts of the Heavenly Eye tribe said hatefully. The Heavenly Eye tribe had always been known for their jealousy and pettiness. Lin Feng had humiliated them in front of everyone, especially severely injuring their tribesmen. Even their master had been humiliated. How could they not be angry? They had been a little shocked before, but now that they had recovered, they naturally kicked up a fuss. The surrounding guests were also discussing animatedly. Most of them had the mentality of watching a show. Most of them were experts of the sorcerer tribe. There were also some ancient clans and neutral races like the Heavenly Eye tribe. Although there were only a few humans, they naturally would not stand up for Lin Feng. As the saying went, if it did not concern them, they would not care. Moreover, offending the Heavenly Eye tribe was definitely not a good thing. Moreover, humans were like ants in the sorcerer tribe. The sorcerer tribe did not care about them at all. Help them? What a joke! It was already good enough that they did not step on them. The experts looked over. Many of them had mocking smiles. They crossed their arms and waited to see how this show would end. Their gazes fell on the man with 2 axes, the Northern Dragon Guard, Ji Long Feng. He had the power to punish Lin Feng and the rest. Wow! His eyes flashed. Lin Feng stood in front, protecting Jin Ji and the rest behind him. The purple crystal spear in his hand flashed coldly. He was filled with killing intent. There was no fear at all. To him, this was not the first time he had fought such a battle. Although the Northern Dragon Guard was strong and his doppelganger was no match for him, his original body might not be inferior to him. Moreover, this kind of battle where the doppelganger was extremely oppressive could very well allow his doppelganger to break through the bottleneck. Reaching the Sage King level. I am the one who initiated the attack. I am also the one who provoked you. It has nothing to do with others. Lin Feng looked at the Northern Dragon Guard without fear. Clang! The purple crystal spear in his hand clanged loudly, showing his attitude. If you want to capture me, then let's fight. Let's see who's stronger. Light flashed in Ji Longfeng's eyes. No one could tell what he was thinking from the expression on his face. He looked at Lin Feng with different emotions. He seemed to be looking at something, but also seemed to be hesitating about something. No one knew what he was thinking. However, Yan Wushuang, who was behind him, could no longer hold back his anger. He said anxiously, "My lord, why don't you capture this lowly human?" But his eyes flashed coldly as he released his aura. Yan Wushuang groaned and staggered back. He was behind the Northern Dragon Guard and was hit by the aura. Although he was not injured, his heart was attacked by the aura. Yan Wushuang was shocked. "My lord, you, shut your mouth." Ji Longfeng's voice was low and emitted a strong pressure. His gaze fell on the other experts of the Heavenly Eye race. Ji Longfeng's eyes were filled with threat as he said, "And all of you, shut up." When his voice fell, all the experts of the Heavenly Eye race were shocked. Their faces turned green and white, but they did not dare to say a word. They could not afford to offend the person in front of them. Sparse laughter sounded, but this time, it was mocking Yan Wushuang. Everyone knew that the Northern Dragon Guard, Ji Longfeng, had half-human blood running through his veins. When Shan Wushuang called Lin Feng a lowly human, he had included Ji Longfeng in it. How foolish! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He looked at the Northern Dragon Guard, who was also a human expert like him. A question mark appeared in his heart. What was he thinking? He could not feel any hostility from him. Was it because they were of the same race? Or Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Just as he was thinking, his heart suddenly shook. In an instant, another powerful aura surged. However, this one was different from the Northern Dragon Guard. "Yo, what big words!" A rough and valiant voice slowly rang out. Chapter 1362. The eyes of all the guests lit up. The Northern Dragon Guard frowned slightly. On the other hand, Yan Wushuang was overjoyed. Lin Feng's gaze deepened as he felt a strong sense of threat. The newcomer was an enemy, not a friend. Peng! In the distance, a large door was pushed open. A burly figure slowly appeared. He had a wild aura like an untamed beast. His eyes were filled with killing intent as the savage's mouth opened coldly. The muscles on his arms were abnormally terrifying. His veins were exposed and were several times thicker than Lin Feng's thigh. Peng! Peng! His feet landed on the ground, causing the entire hall to tremble. It was a barbarian in armor. However, his aura was abnormally terrifying. He was only stronger than the Northern Dragon Guard. Dong Ting Shou! Dong Ting Shou! As the savage entered, all the guests bowed respectfully. Unlike the Northern Dragon Guard, the Eastern Dragon Guard, Man Ting, the Eastern Dragon Guard, was one of the 4 city guards in charge of the East City. In other words, this was his territory. "Greetings, Dong Ting Shou." Yan Wushuang cupped his hands in joy. He immediately abandoned the darkness for the light and jogged to Man Ting's side. Man Ting did not even look at Yan Wushuang. His wild eyes stared straight at Ji Long Peak as he sneered, "Northern Dragon Guard, you are in a good mood to grace the East City with your presence. Why don't you come and have a drink with me?" His gaze landed on Lin Feng. Man Ting's expression darkened. "You are meddling in the East City's business?" His expression changed extremely quickly. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he frowned. The situation was getting more and more complicated. First, it was the Northern Dragon Guard. Now, it was the Eastern Dragon Guard. Yen Imperial City had 16 city guards. There were 4 in each direction. Now that he was in the East City, everything that happened should be under the jurisdiction of the Eastern Dragon Guard. In other words, very troublesome. Lin Feng's heart sank. This Eastern Dragon Guard was much more troublesome than the Northern Dragon Guard. Not only did he have deep enmity towards him, but he even revealed some killing intent. Most importantly, he was very strong. He was stronger than the Northern Dragon Guard and even stronger than his main body. Although he didn't want to admit it, he could tell from his aura that if they really fought, he probably wouldn't be a match for him. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. However, he was not afraid. Instead, he was delighted. Although the situation before him was dangerous and troublesome, it made him even more interested in Yen Imperial City. He had thought that his powers would be at the pinnacle of the Do spirit world after his breakthrough. But now it seemed that this was not the case. There was a gray area between the peak of the Do spirit world and where his true body was located. There were many unknown powerful beings there. The North Dragon Guardian, the East Vine Guardian, and the other 14 City Guardians, as well as the 4 Directions Yama Kings. Previously, he had only heard of his name, but now, he was meeting him face to face. A deep feeling. Long time no see. Ji Long Feng finally opened his mouth, his voice fluctuating. Barbarian Ting's lips curled into a cold grin as his eyes flashed. He smiled and said, "Since you are a guest, then I, old barbarian, will be the host for this meal. How about I take Brother Ji to taste the delicacies of my eastern city? As for other things, Brother Ji should know the rules, right?" Discussions broke out all around. Lin Feng's slight movement allowed him to understand the so-called rules from the intermittent voices around him. In short, the North Dragon Guardian was not in charge of the Eastern City's affairs. But, no need to trouble yourself. I still have a mission. Ji Long Feng raised his hand and refused. I will take him away. As he spoke, he pointed his thumb to the back. It was Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. He did not expect the North Dragon Guardian to protect him. Obviously, he had never met him before. What was his intention for doing this? It seems against the rules? Barbarian Ting sneered as his eyes revealed a cold glint. Ji Long Feng said in a deep voice, I will say it again. I must take him away. Bang! Chi flames exploded as Barbarian Ting's robust body emitted a dense power. He clenched his fists and snapped his fingers. His eyes were deep and cold. Ji Long Feng, I, old barbarian, am giving face to the North Yama King. Don't think too highly of yourself. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. As soon as he said that, the surroundings were in an uproar. Barbarian Ting was no longer polite and had shed all pretense of cordiality. Or the two of them were not on the same path. Bang! The same aura bloomed. A cold glint flashed in the North Dragon Guardian's eyes as his aura surged. Instantly, a beam of light appeared in his right hand. Like a soaring dragon, a long spear engraved with a golden dragon appeared. It was dazzling and clanging. Lin Feng's eyes burned as he looked at the golden dragon-long spear. His heart trembled. As someone who loved spears, he was rather moved by this golden dragon-long spear. Good spear. It was even better than his purple crystal spear. It was a heaven-ranked treasure. One could judge the strength of the owner from the spear. I seem to have underestimated him. Lin Feng looked at the North Dragon Guardian's back and thought to himself. The human expert in front of him was stronger than he had imagined. Just by holding the golden dragon-long spear, Barbarian Ting's spear realm was not something he could compare with. There was a huge difference in strength between having a spear and not having one. From the looks of it, he was not inferior to Barbarian Ting in front of him. No wonder the two of them were like sworn enemies. If the North Dragon Guardian's strength was inferior to the East Dragon Guardian's, why would they be so hostile? It was getting lively. The eyes of the surrounding people lit up, and their hearts jumped with joy. Wow, they are going to fight! Do you think they will fight? I don't know. If they fight, it will be exciting. I heard that the East Hades and the North Hades don't get along. No wonder the city guards are like this. Everyone was discussing. They could not wait for the two city guards to fight. They would have a good show to watch. Yen Imperial City forbade killing and fighting. It had been a long time since they had seen such an interesting scene. Barbarian Ting's eyes flickered when he saw that ultimate dragon peak was not backing down and was willing to fight. Lin Feng saw it and knew very well. He was afraid. Or rather, he was hesitating. It's not that I'm afraid, Lin Feng thought. The East Dragon Guardian's strength was not necessarily weaker than the North Dragon Guardian's, but he seemed to be worried about something. His determination to fight was not as strong as the North Dragon Guardian's. If the East Dragon Guardian is worried about the rules, then the North Dragon Guardian must be worried about it too. But why is the North Dragon Guardian so fearless and insisting on protecting me? Lin Feng was even more confused. No matter how he thought about it, he did not have anything to do with the North Dragon Guardian. Why would the North Dragon Guardian take such a huge risk to save him? Wait. Could it be the spear? Lin Feng's gaze landed on the golden dragon spear in the North Dragon Guardian's hand. There were not many who used spears. It was even rarer for Sage Kings to use spears. Among those he knew, only Sage Lord Cloud's spear had reached a high level of attainment in spear technique. It was far beyond the Sage King level. Although the North Dragon Guardian's spear techniques were inferior to Sage Lord Cloud's spears, they were still superior to him. They were also beyond the Sage King level. Plus, he was also a human expert. Could it be that he knows Sage Lord Cloud's spear? Lin Feng thought to himself. The spear technique he used to kill the three-eyed monster king was Cloud Spear Sage Lord Cloud Spear's spear technique. Thinking of this, his thoughts became clearer. If that was the case, everything would make sense. Or maybe he is Sage Lord Cloud Spear's disciple, or even Sage Lord Cloud Spear might be the North Hades. Lin Feng's gaze deepened. The doubts in his heart seemed to be solved one by one. At this time, the confrontation between Ultimate Dragon Peak and Manting had been going on for a while. Just as everyone was waiting for the two to start fighting, Manting suddenly laughed, and the killing intent in his eyes disappeared. I'm just joking, Brother G. Don't be nervous. Since you have a good relationship with this human, how can I not give you face? Manting waved his hand and said, Take him away. Since Brother G has a mission, there is no need to delay. If the North Hades blames me, I won't be able to bear it. Dong Ting Shou. Yen Wushuang was anxious, and his eyes were bloodshot. If he let this human leave like this, how could he raise his head in Yen Imperial City in the future? But, Hua. Manting turned his head, and his eyes were cold. Yen Wushuang was so frightened that he trembled. He didn't dare to say anything. The other Heavenly Eye race experts were even worse. Their faces were pale, and their legs almost turned to jelly. Everyone knew Dong Ting Shou's style. He was temperamental and murderous. If they offended him, they would be tired of living. Swoosh, his eyes flashed, and Ji Longfeng nodded. Thank you. Ji Longfeng was not a proud person. Since Manting had taken the first step, he naturally had to return the favor. It was pointless to argue. Ji Longfeng looked back at Lin Feng and his eyes flashed. Let's go. There were no superfluous words, and it was clean. Lin Feng nodded. Although he had doubts, this was not the place to talk. Moreover, now that he knew that Thousand Love Empress was not dead, there was no need to take revenge. One of the three-eyed monsters was seriously injured, and his master was humiliated. He had already avenged Thousand Love Empress. As for the rest, there was no need to kill them. After all, this was the Sorcerer Realm, Yen Imperial City. There were many things that he couldn't decide. Soon, Lin Feng and the others followed Ji Longfeng and left Qi Ling Pavilion. With Bei Longsho leading the way, no one dared to stop them. The guests who were left behind were discussing among themselves. They felt that it was a pity that they had missed a big battle. Yen Wushuang's face was ugly, and his forehead was full of black lines. He no longer had the majestic appearance he had just now. He was as miserable as a stray dog. The surrounding people looked at him mockingly, and Yen Wushuang could not raise his head. Damn it! Yen Wuxiang clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. His red eyes were full of hatred. Lowly human, just you wait. I, Yen Wuxiang, will return today's humiliation 100 times, 1,000 times. The Heavenly Eye clan had always been known for being jealous and petty. Moreover, Yen Wuxiang was the prince of the Heavenly Eye clan. He had always been in a high position and could get whatever he wanted. When had he ever been humiliated like this? However, even if Lin Feng knew about it, he would not care. It was normal to be remembered by a defeated opponent. A dog that barked did not bite. The truly dangerous ones were those who did not make a sound or smiled. For example, Man Ting. His majestic and burly body emitted a terrifying power, and his muscles were terrifying. Looking at the backs of Lin Feng and the others, his eyes were cold and murderous. He let them go this time, but it did not mean that he would let them go the next time. This was the East City. Chapter 1363. Whoosh! The Northern Dragon Guard, Jilong Feng, led the way. Lin Feng and the rest followed closely behind. However, they did not head towards the main gate. Instead, they headed towards an open-air plaza in Qiling Pavilion. Lin Feng's eyes shone as he followed the Northern Dragon Guard. Although he had doubts, he still followed closely. If the Northern Dragon Guard wanted to harm him, there was no need for him to take such a long detour. Ta! Jilong Feng leaped up and said, "Follow closely." 2 simple words conveyed his intentions. Jinji looked at Lin Feng inquiringly. Nodding slightly, Lin Feng did not hesitate. He leaped up and left Qiling Pavilion. However, he did not walk out of the main gate. Instead, he used the open-air plaza as a staircase and leaped into the air. Lin Feng heard exclamations. He looked over and saw a sea of people outside Qiling Pavilion. It was very lively. So that's why. No wonder they did not go through the main gate, Lin Feng thought to himself. It seemed that the battle in Qiling Pavilion had aroused the curiosity of the surrounding strong martial artists. Hence they had gathered. Ordinary martial artists might not be able to sense it. However, there were no weaklings in Yen Imperial City. With so many martial saints, how could they not sense the battle in the city? If they were surrounded, it would be troublesome. Lin Feng looked at the Northern Dragon Guard. He knew that he was not afraid. However, it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, this was the East City, and not the North City. Whoosh! 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 Soon, the Northern Dragon Guard landed in a deserted area. The token in his hand flashed and shone with golden light. There were no obstructions. The strong martial artists from the sorcerer tribe, who were in charge of receiving them, were very respectful. At this moment, the differences between the races no longer existed. Only strength and status mattered. Whoosh! After passing through the stone forest corridor, they quickly entered a courtyard. The scenery was picturesque, giving people a relaxed and happy feeling. At this moment, the solemn expression on the Northern Longsho's face slowly relaxed. "Sit," Jilong Feng looked over and said calmly. Lin Feng looked around and guessed that this was the Northern Dragon Guard's private residence. It was relatively safe. After exchanging glances with Jinji, everyone followed Northern Dragon Guard and sat down. The tense atmosphere was instantly swept away. "Thank you for your help, Senior." Lin Feng bowed his head in gratitude. If it weren't for the Northern Dragon Guard's help, he might have caused a huge ruckus. This was especially true for the savage Higashido Mamoru. Even if Higashido Mamoru used his true body strength, it would be difficult for him to defeat him. Staring at Lin Feng, Jilong Feng's eyes flashed as if he didn't hear Lin Feng's words of gratitude. His eyes seemed to see through everything. Only after a long while did Ran open her mouth. "Where did you learn the spear move Clouds Rise?" His voice was calm, but there was a slight tremor in it. Lin Feng's expression didn't change, but he had already guessed most of it. This was the first time he had met the Northern Longs Ho, and their relationship was completely unrelated. There had to be a reason why the Northern Longs Ho helped him. No matter how he thought about it, other than the fact that they were both humans, it was also an extension of the Tao of the Spear. As he had expected, it was indeed the Spear move Cloud's Rise. To be more accurate, it was Sacred Lord Cloud's Spear. Actually, he was also curious. Could Ji Long Feng's master be Sacred Lord Cloud's Spear? Could this powerful king of Hell North be Sacred Lord Cloud's Spear? Senior, since you recognize Cloud's Rise, there is no reason you don't know where I learned it. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Northern Longs Ho. One must always be on guard against others. Right now, Meng Chao couldn't tell whether this Northern Longs Ho was a dragon or a snake. Naturally, he wouldn't trust him. Ji Long Feng's eyes flashed. He didn't answer but asked, "What is your relationship with the Sacred Lord?" Sacred Lord. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although he didn't call him by his name, the two words Sacred Lord were enough to prove that Northern Longs Ho knew Sacred Lord Cloud's Spear. His expression was filled with respect. Lin Feng saw it and understood. Observing people was important. Although Northern Longs Ho didn't express his relationship with Sacred Lord Cloud Spear, just by calling him Sacred Lord and not Sacred Lord Cloud Spear, one could tell how important Sacred Lord Cloud Spear was to him. However, from the way Northern Longs Ho addressed Sacred Lord Cloud Spear, Meng Chao seemed to have made a mistake. Sacred Lord Cloud Spear wasn't Northern Longsho's teacher. Otherwise, he wouldn't be called Sacred Lord. Of course, the possibility of Sacred Lord Cloud Spear being the king of Hell North was very small. Lin Feng looked at Northern Longs Ho. He hesitated for a moment before he made a decision. "Let's take a gamble." Lin Feng looked at Northern Longs Ho and said slowly, "This junior is not related to Sacred Lord Cloud Spear. It's just that, by chance, he taught this junior for a few days and taught me the spear move Cloud's Rise." It was half true and half false. He and Sacred Lord Cloud Spear did meet by chance. However, there was no need to tell him about the opportunity. Their eyes met. Ji Long Feng's eyes flashed. He didn't doubt Meng Chao's words and didn't ask further. He only nodded to show that he understood. "What do you plan to do next?" Ji Long Feng asked slowly and changed the topic. Lin Feng was relieved. Even though Northern Longs Ho didn't tell him about his relationship with Sacred Lord Cloud Spear, it was obviously a good thing and not a bad thing. He had won the gamble. Looking at Northern Longs Ho, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. "I wonder if this senior has heard of Zi Yao and Ziyu? They were so far away yet so close. If one were to ask who knew the most people in Yen Imperial City, even if the 16 city lords weren't the most knowledgeable, they would definitely be one of them. Now that he was close to them, when would he ask if he didn't ask now? Zi Yao Ziyu? Ji Long Feng frowned slightly as if he was deep in thought. On the other side, Jin Ji reacted quickly. He quickly took the portrait from Shi Jixin and respectfully handed it over. "Senior, please take a look. This is Miss Ziyu's portrait. We saw her appear nearby yesterday." Ji Long Feng took the portrait and unrolled it. His eyes were shining. After a while, swish. Closing the portrait, Ji Long Feng shook his head. "I'm sorry. I have never seen her before." Lin Feng and Jin Ji looked at each other and felt disappointed. Even the Northern Longs Ho didn't recognize Ziyu. If they wanted to find her, the chances were even slimmer in the sea of people. His eyes flashed. Ji Long Feng spoke again. "The two of you don't have to be disappointed. If you don't mind, I will keep the portrait and ask on your behalf." Frowning slightly, Ji Long Feng said seriously, "If this woman appears frequently in the North City, I will naturally recognize her. However, in the East City, you will have to ask the King of Hell's men." Oh! Lin Feng was enlightened. However, he had overlooked that although the North City and East City were both in Yen Imperial City, From the situation just now, it was obvious that the two cities didn't get along well and didn't interfere with each other's business. Not to mention the northern Longs Ho and the eastern Tingsho, the King of Hell's North and the King of Hell's East were also like fire and water. If Ziyu appeared frequently in the East City, the northern Longs Ho wouldn't recognize her. After all, Ziyu shouldn't be considered a celebrity. Then I will have to trouble Senior. Lin Feng smiled faintly. No matter what, he would continue to search. Now that he had the northern Longsho's help, his hopes would undoubtedly increase. It's no trouble at all, Ji Long Feng said indifferently. He paused and looked at Lin Feng. So, do you want to continue to stay in the East City? Lin Feng frowned slightly and didn't say anything. If it was before, he would have answered without hesitation. However, with such a big matter happening now, it wasn't good. He had nothing to fear. If he wanted to search for Ziyu, the best choice was to stay in the East City. However, what about the others? What about Jin Ji, Shi Jixin, and the severely injured and unconscious Qian Lian Huang? If they were to meet with misfortune like before, how could he bear it? Senior, what do you mean? Lin Feng looked at the northern Longs Ho and his eyes brightened. Ji Long Feng's expression was calm as he said, "You just offended the prince of the Heavenly Eye clan. With his character, he will definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Furthermore, Dong Ting Shou is temperamental and cruel. I can protect you now, but I can't protect you forever. After all, this is the East City, not my territory." So that three-eyed monster is from the Heavenly Eye clan, Lin Feng muttered. He nodded as he understood the northern Longsho's meaning. He couldn't make the decision in the East City. However, the North City was completely different. And this friend of yours? Ji Long Feng's gaze landed on Qian Lian Huang as he said, with such a serious injury, not only does she need to recuperate, but she also needs to undergo appropriate treatment to prevent any sequelae. I will help you find the best doctor in the North City to treat her. There are already very few human experts. We can't lose another one with such talent. As he spoke, his eyes seemed to have a gentle glow. Then I'll accept your offer. Lin Feng cupped his hands. As the northern Longs Ho had said, it would be a pity if someone with such talent like Qian Lian Huang suffered any sequelae. He would feel guilty for the rest of his life. Compared to searching for Ziyu in the Sea of People, treating Qian Lian Huang was more important. In the distance of the fallen Witch Mountain Range, Go Mang personally led the Witch Race army. At this moment, the Witch King's aura had completely exploded, and his killing intent was boiling. Go Mang already had endless guilt in his heart. Facing the murderous demons in front of him, Go Mang's long-suppressed anger completely erupted. Boom! His true body, which was 100 meters tall, completely revealed itself. He had a dark green color, a human face, and a thin face that looked extremely ferocious. Standing at the front of the army, Go Mang was no longer the marshal of an army, but a real general, a general who charged and broke through the enemy lines. Facing the attacks of the demon experts, he showed no fear. He was the Witch King Go Mang. Kill. There was no need for any unnecessary words. In fact, the witch race and the demon race had nothing to say. They only needed to fight to the death when they met. This was the fate of the witch race and the demon race. There was only one of the two. Charge. As one of the 4 demon emperors, Xiong Bao did not have the air of a demon emperor. His huge body was like a mountain. He waved the mace in his hand and unleashed his brute force. Every time he waved the mace, dense energy would surge into the sky and send sand and pebbles flying. His aura was rather terrifying. Behind him, saint-level demon experts followed closely. Although their numbers were not as large as the witch race army, but every one of them was a true elite expert. Boom! Boom! Terrifying auras blended in the wilderness. Witch King Go Mang's face was ferocious. He was unafraid of death. The first thing he did was to face the violent bear demon emperor Xiong Bao. The two super experts launched an intense attack. At this moment, at the back of the demon race army, the other three demon emperors gathered together and frowned. They realized that something was wrong. Chapter 1364. What's going on? Kuei Tianyuan's eyes flashed. There's really nothing. Ji Yunlei's voice was low as he frowned. Yuji's beautiful eyes lit up. She laughed seductively with a hint of coldness. It seems like we're a step too late. At that moment, bang! There was a violent clash as the air currents exploded. The entire battlefield was in chaos. The terrifying force directly injured the demon experts, who were slightly closer. The attack of a Sage King was extremely terrifying. Even the aftershocks from the clash were extraordinary. Both Gomang and Xiong Bao were extraordinary existences at the top of the Do Ling world's pyramid. Ah! There was a hoarse and crazy laughter. It was Shaman King Gomang's voice. You didn't expect this, did you? You despicable demons. The ancient army retreated long ago. Stop dreaming if you think you can defeat the shaman tribe in one battle. Boom! There was a loud roar as green light flashed. A huge green vine tree appeared in the sky. Shaman King Gomang stood tall as he released the power of the wood origin source. Shaman King Gomang's eyes were cold. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, but he still looked majestic like a god of war. He shouted, "Brothers of the shaman tribe, follow me and kill. Killing one is enough. Killing two is a win. Whoever dares to take a step back is a coward. Kill. Kill. Everyone, kill. Kill all these despicable magical beasts." Everyone shouted in unison, their morale soaring. Shaman King Gomang led the charge, completely igniting the morale of the shaman tribe expert. Although the shaman tribe experts were inferior to the demons in terms of quality, they were more than 1,000 times stronger in terms of quantity. A black mass of people came crashing over in a frenzy. Every one of them was like a death warrior. The demon clan members' faces were also filled with fear. When there were enough ants, they could crush an elephant. Moreover, the shaman tribe was not an ant, and the demons were not elephants. The fallen shaman mountain range lived up to its name. This time, the sorcerer tribe had suffered an unprecedented defeat. Even in the Second Great Shaman Demon War, the shaman tribe had only suffered such a crushing defeat the first time they clashed head-on with the demons. And now, in the Third Great Shaman Demon War, the shaman tribe seemed to be destined to suffer another crushing defeat. It might not be a bad thing to be defeated early. It was better than a complete stalemate and losing at the decisive moment. Purring! 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 The dense star origin energy gathered the power of heaven and earth. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang stood upside down in the air. His eyes were filled with a bloody light. The 4 wings on his back were completely spread out, cutting through the entire space like blades. The explosion of power stimulated the shining carvings on the fine iron pillars, bringing out the full power of the heaven and earth refining formation. It could contend against the blood fiend 10,000 Ghosts formation. The refining formation of heaven and earth undoubtedly held the advantage. Firstly, the blood evil 10,000 Ghosts formation consumed a lot of energy, and there was no one controlling it. Secondly, the refining formation of heaven and earth was located on the outside, as if it was enveloped by the blood evil 10,000 Ghosts formation, and had an absolute advantage. Right now, even though the blood fiend 10,000 Ghost formation still had its power, it was completely suppressed by the heaven and earth refining formation. But which King Zhang's expression was still extremely solemn. He hadn't reached the point where he could truly be at ease. Even though he could barely control the power of the sacrificial array, if he wanted to break it and eradicate it, it was harder than ascending to the heavens. No, this sacrificial array has absorbed too much blood and souls. Zhang's bloody eyes flashed. Using his own power to deal with a large array had greatly damaged his vitality. However, there were always gains and losses. Right now, he had a deep understanding of this sacrificial array. He was originally a formation master. What kind of array had he not seen before? Going back to the origin, the Tao of array was orderly and logical. Just like the spear move, no matter how complicated it was still the same. Although the sacrificial array wasn't an array, in fact, it was simpler than a real array. The demon tribe is really ruthless. Zhang's gaze was cold. Although he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he could understand the activation of this sacrificial array. He could roughly deduce it. They actually used themselves as a sacrifice. What a good move to destroy jade and common stone, using their clansmen as chess pieces. Zhang's expression was solemn. In order to win, the demon tribe would go to such an extent. It was something he had never thought of before. Even he himself couldn't do it, even if he could obtain great benefits. Although he was ambitious and ruthless and would do anything to win, he still had a bottom line. To Zhang, the ancient tribe and the human tribe could be chess pieces. However, no matter which wizard tribe it was, he wouldn't use them as chess pieces. The demon tribe is really not simple. Zhang's heart was gloomy. First, there was the powerful demon tribe commander. Then, there was the ox tribe expert who was almost on par with him. What gave him the biggest headache was the military advisor, who was giving him advice behind the scenes. His methods were quite ruthless and insidious. This series of precise arrangements almost crippled his wizard tribe army. Now, more than half of the wizard tribe's army had been lost. It was quite painful for the wizard tribe. They were doomed to lose this battle. Phew! Exhaling a long breath, the light in Wizard Emperor Zhang's hand gradually dimmed. Under his control, the sacrificial array had completely suppressed the sacrificial array. Even if he didn't control it, the sacrificial array couldn't escape the range of the sacrificial array. However, suppressing it didn't mean breaking it. To break the sacrificial array, one had to have a power that was far beyond the sacrificial array, or exhaust its energy. No matter which one it wasn't easy. Right now, the simplest way was Arc of the Heavenly Wings. Zhang's eyes were cold. His figure flashed, and his aura condensed again. Although his vitality was greatly injured, he wouldn't stop since it had started. Compared to his personal safety, the survival of the wizard tribe army was more important. What did it matter if he was injured and consumed some vitality? How could it compare to a life? They were the future of the wizard tribe. Again, Zhang's face was pale. Blood dripped onto the arc of the heavenly wings, and the bright red light shone again. As if it had been activated, the arc of the heavenly wings made clanging sounds. It was unusually excited. The connection in his heart was extremely strong. Zhang's hands changed and his eyes shone brightly. He gritted his teeth, and the arc of the heavenly wings released an astonishing and terrifying power, directly attacking the blood evil 10,000 ghosts array. Void Light Blade. Zhang's eyes widened as he shouted. Chi! It was as if the sky was broken. Wherever it passed, space was completely torn apart. Time seemed to stop at that moment. How terrifying was the power of a heavenly treasure! Even a fraction of its power had a heaven-defying effect. No matter how strong the blood evil 10,000 ghosts array was, in terms of the defensive power of the array, it couldn't stop the descent of the arc of the heavenly wings. Bang! There was a violent tremor and the earth shook. The entire space seemed to be shattered. A terrifying explosion erupted with unprecedented power. Pop, pop. Mountain peaks shattered one by one. Even the carvings on the top dimmed and disappeared. The destruction of the array was intense. It was not easy to recover, especially when dozens of the points of the carvings were destroyed. Moreover, The blood evil 10,000 ghosts array was completely suppressed by the heaven and earth refining array. It couldn't even take care of itself, so how could it have any extra energy to recover? Sizzle! Sizzle! The energy of the arc of the heavenly wings tore the blood evil 10,000 ghosts array. The space shattered more and more, and in an instant, countless experts of the wizard tribe rushed out. They were all overjoyed, as if they had survived a disaster. They were all slightly injured, or they had used up a lot of energy. But now they were finally saved. The experts of the wizard tribe came out in a line. It was as if there was a big hole in a fishing net, and the fish caught in the net escape. It's the Wizard Emperor! The Wizard Emperor is finally here! This is great, this is really great! A member of the wizard tribe was wild with joy. He looked up at the figure of the Wizard Emperor Jiang in admiration and cheered. This was their emperor. He was the true leader who could lead them to victory and save them from the fire and water. As long as the Wizard Emperor was here, the wizard tribe would never lose. Yen Imperial City. Lin Feng left with the Northern Dragon to guard Ultimate Dragon Peak. As for Jinji and Shijishin, they followed the arrangements. They followed wherever Lin Feng went. Although the East City and North City were far away, there were teleportation portals between the cities. Although the Black Crystal Token could not use such a high-level teleportation portal, with the Northern Dragon Peak, everything was not a big problem. Soon, everyone came to a place that looked like a villa. It was tall and luxurious. Looking at the surrounding buildings in the North City, it was like a giant. The spiritual energy was abundant, and the entire villa was filled with a rich aura. In terms of size, it was more than 100 times bigger than the villa in the East City. This was the territory of Ultimate Dragon Peak. Let's stay here first. Ultimate Dragon Peak looked at Lin Feng with a burning gaze. All the facilities are available. Without my permission, not to mention the people in the East City, even the other 3 city guards in the North City cannot enter. You are 100% safe here. Don't worry. Thank you so much. Lin Feng smiled. This time, he really met a benefactor when he went out. With the help of the famous Northern Dragon Peak in the North City, he saved a lot of effort. Looking at Lin Feng, Ultimate Dragon Peak's eyes flashed. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but hesitated and did not say anything. Then he took out a token and threw it over. Ultimate Dragon Peak said, "Take it. With it, you can go to most places in the North City." Reaching out to take it, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Hiss. Beside him, Jinji and Shijishin took a light breath. The milky white color on the exquisite and translucent crystals was extremely beautiful. White Crystal Token. A 4th-class identity token. Compared to Thousand Love Emperor's Black Crystal Token, it was a full 3 classes higher. Lin Feng held the White Crystal Token and looked up at Ultimate Dragon Peak in surprise. Wasn't this treatment a little too good? The Northern Dragon Guardian had arranged for him to stay in such a luxurious residence, gifted him a 4th-grade identity token, saved him from his predicament, and even helped him search for Purple Moon. Just what kind of relationship did the Northern Dragon Guardian have with Saint Lord Cloudspare for him to help him so much? Thinking of this, Lin Feng could not help but be more curious. I have already informed Dr. Ning. I believe he should be here soon. Ultimate Dragon Peak looked serious. I still have things to do. Help yourselves. Then, without waiting for Lin Feng and the others to reply, he disappeared like the wind. Everyone looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Chapter 1365. After the Northern Dragon Guard left, everyone finally had some time alone. Lin Feng was very curious about what had happened at Qi Ling Pavilion. Even though he had stood up for Shijishin and Qian Lian Huang without hesitation, it was because of their friendship and trust that did not need to be explained. However, when the matter was settled and the dust had settled, he still needed to truly understand. At the very least, he needed to know what had happened. At this moment, Jinji's gaze had already turned toward Shi Jixin with a questioning look. "I'm sorry, Lin Dego. Jixin has caused you trouble again." Shi Jixin lowered her head and apologized. "Brother Lin, I don't think you can blame Jixin this time." Jinji's gaze was burning with anger. "When you and I entered the hall just now, the lustful look in the eyes of the heavenly eye race had yet to fade. Rumor has it that the heavenly eye race is extremely lecherous and especially fond of human women." "I'm afraid, I know," Lin Feng replied with a smile. Since Jinji noticed it, he naturally saw it too. Especially that prince of the heavenly eye race that he had injured. He was even more wanton and unrestrained. "However, there's no need to be so nervous, Brother Jin." Lin Feng looked towards Jinji. The latter's face was slightly red and seemed a little unnatural. Jinji said awkwardly, "I'm just afraid that you've misunderstood." Lin Feng smiled faintly. How could he not see it from Jinji's actions and actions? However, this kind of love was after all a matter between two people. It also depended on whether Jixin was interested or not. There was no need to expose it from his standpoint. "Let Jixin tell us what happened." Lin Feng looked toward Shi Jixin and said softly. Gently nodding, Shi Jixin had already calmed down a lot. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were bright. Her big watery eyes seemed to be able to speak. Her pair of cherry lips were small and exquisite. Her delicate face carried a slight sickly look. She looked even more pitiful. The little girl of the past was now a graceful and elegant woman. "It's like this, Lin Dego. At that time, Sister Qian and I." Shi Jixin calmed herself down and spoke slowly. Lin Feng listened carefully. The development of the situation was not far from what he had guessed. Actually, from the battle with the Heavenly Eye clan, the fact that Thousand Love Empress had entered a state of suspended animation due to the injury to her soul, and the fact that Xin had fallen into a state of weakness, he could already deduce the various signs. This was because the Heavenly Eye race was a race that specialized in souls. They were even more unconventional than the ancient race. Every single one of them was a Heavenly Soul Master, a pure Heavenly Soul Master. The Heavenly Soul Masters specialized in psychic, puppeteer, illusionist, and other Heavenly Soul Masters. The experts of the Heavenly Eye race used psychic, which was an extension of soul power, as their main means of attack. Not only did they insult us verbally, they even used telekinesis to attack us. Big Sister Qian wasn't willing to submit and clashed with their souls. In the end, he died just like that. As she spoke, Shi Jixin's tears fell uncontrollably. She was still heartbroken when she thought of that scene, even though it was now confirmed that Thousand Love Empress was not truly dead. Lin Feng nodded. Thinking back to what he had seen before, he was suddenly enlightened. No wonder when he first saw Jixin, she looked like she had lost her soul. There was something wrong with her. Seeing Thousand Love Empress die in front of her must have been a huge blow to Shi Jixin. Wasn't he also unable to suppress his anger and impulse? Humans had feelings. Retelling the scene, Shi Jixin cried a few times. Jinji's face was full of anger. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames. He clenched his fists so tightly that his veins could be seen. These damned beasts! Gritting his teeth, he did not hide his anger. Jinji's reaction was not unexpected. Lin Feng knew that Jinji was an emotional person who dared to love and hate. Previously at Qi Ling Pavilion, if he had not signaled for Jinji to not make a move, they would have already fought. Lin Dego, do you think Big Sister Qian will have any side effects? Shi Jixin's tears fell like rain as she looked at Lin Feng nervously. Since the North Longsho has spoken, I believe that Physician Ning will be able to cure Empress Qian. Lin Feng nodded seriously. He looked at Shi Jixin and said, "You don't have to worry too much. I believe that with Thousand Love Empress's personality, she must have made the smartest decision at that time. Shi Jixin was stunned. She did not understand. Jin Ji's eyes shone. Brother Lin, you mean, just as Physician Ning said, faking her death was actually a form of protection. Lin Feng said softly, Thousand Love Empress knew that killing in Yen Imperial City is a serious crime. Therefore, with her death, the matter will be resolved temporarily. The Heavenly Eye tribe will not dare to act rashly again. Shi Jixin seemed to have suddenly understood and nodded in a daze. Jin Ji recalled the scene just now. Indeed, such a thing happened. Not only did she protect herself, she also protected Jixin. However, she probably didn't expect us to enter Qi Ling Xian so quickly and get into a dispute with the Heavenly Eye tribe. Lin Feng smiled and spoke softly. Now that he had calmed down and looked at the situation from the outside, he had to admit that Thousand Love Empress had handled the situation very well. Both she and Jixin were not as strong as the Heavenly Eye tribe to begin with. Now that they were heavily injured, their souls were even weaker. If they were really controlled by the Heavenly Eye clan's psychic power and illusions, and did some disgraceful and humiliating things, that would really be a fate worse than death. To a woman, chastity and reputation were sometimes more important than her life. Thousand Love Empress should have weighed the pros and cons in an instant and made the most beneficial decision. Oh! Shi Jixin nodded in realization. It seems to be true. Jin Ji muttered softly. Whether it is true or not is not important now. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He looked behind him. Physician Ning is here. Jin Ji and Shi Jixin followed his gaze, their expressions solemn. Indeed, the most important thing now was to wake Thousand Love Empress up. Even if she did not recover immediately, at least, they did not want to leave any side effects. But it was a coincidence. Physician Ning was the man in luxurious clothes that Lin Feng had held hostage previously. He had randomly grabbed a human expert and did not expect to fall into the wrong trap. It seemed that they were fated. How is it, Physician Ning? Lin Feng's eyes were burning. I have already diagnosed this lady's injuries in Qi Ling Pavilion. She is in a state of suspended animation and is not seriously injured. Physician Ning's expression was calm. He slowly nodded his head as he checked Thousand Love Empress's pulse. A light flashed in his right hand and in an instant, a green pill appeared. He stuffed it into Thousand Love Empress's mouth and poured a stream of qi into it. His left hand left Thousand Love Empress's wrist and gently put it down. Physician Ning slowly stood up. I need a quiet place. No problem. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Everyone immediately entered the villa. Although the villa was large, it was not difficult to find an isolated room. They casually found a room and let Physician Ning settle down. They arranged for him to treat Thousand Love Empress without any interference. Lindigo, I will take care of this. Shi Jixin forced a smile and nodded. Okay. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. He naturally followed Shi Jixin's instructions. The little girl was still uneasy and wanted to do something for Thousand Love Empress. He could completely understand her feelings. Guarding the place was not difficult. It only required time and patience. It was a good opportunity for Jixin to adjust her mood. It was not a bad idea. He could also use this time to familiarize himself with the villa. He would be living here for a period of time in the future. Together with Jin Ji, the two of them walked leisurely in the villa. There were no maids or servants, not even a housekeeper. The empty villa looked very strange, but it was exactly what Lin Feng wanted. Whether it was cultivation or gathering with everyone, it was not so comfortable to have a few more unfamiliar faces. I like the space battlefield just now. Jin Ji's eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he said, You want to spar? Lin Feng smiled. Heh! Jin Ji clenched his fist as a light flashed in his eyes. Although I am not as strong as Brother Lin, I have to find someone stronger to fight. Only then will I be able to improve faster. Lin Feng smiled and said, For Jixin? This sentence immediately made Jinji choke. An unnatural expression appeared on his face as he laughed awkwardly. Of course not. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and did not expose him. Don't worry. With Brother Jin's strength, it is only a matter of time before you break through to the Saint King realm. If you rush for success, you will lose your way and walk on the wrong path. Jinji's expression slowly turned serious as he nodded. I know what you are thinking. Lin Feng looked at Jinji and smiled. The latter could not help but blush. Who did not want to protect their beloved woman with their own hands? He was like that, and Jinji was no exception. Just like in Qi Ling Pavilion just now, he could completely understand Jinji's feelings when he saw Shi Jixin being humiliated but unable to protect her. But it is better not to rush for success. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Actually, Brother Jin, you have just fused with a heaven-rank treasure. If you cultivate its ability properly, you should be able to raise your strength to another level in a short time. I know that too. Jinji sighed, his eyes flashing with a hint of sadness. But a martial artist's true goal is always the Saint King realm. Looking at Lin Feng, Jinji's eyes lit up. Using the Space Colosseum to comprehend through battle, I believe that my understanding of the Scorpio constellation will be more thorough, and I will be closer to the Saint King realm. But I might need to take up a little of Brother Lin's time. I hope. Comprehend through battle. Lin Feng pondered for a moment, and instantly thought of the 108 steps in the Shield of Truth in the Fierce Grounds. The best place to train. Just like what Jinji said, comprehend through battle, especially in life and death battles, it was the greatest for a martial artist. Although in the Shield of Truth's 108 steps, it might only be useful for the first death. But the rest of the time was at least endless battles. Battling again, compared to the comprehension under normal circumstances, the improvement would be more than 1,000 times. He had not made good use of the Shield of Truth. Brother Lin, Jinji called out softly. No problem. Lin Feng smiled. I understand what you mean, Brother Jin. Time is not a big problem, but the Space Colosseum here is not the best place. Brother Lin, what do you mean? Jinji's eyes lit up. I can provide you with a place where you can fight endlessly, and use the battles to train your strength. Lin Feng looked at Jinji, his eyes burning. You will experience the moment of death inside. Although you will not truly die, but you will be heavily injured. I wonder if Brother Jin will be afraid of the challenge. Jinji's eyes opened wide. His face lit up with joy, and he was extremely excited. Chapter 1366. Ha ha ha! Jinji laughed. I, Jinji, am not afraid of anything except death. Jinji looked at Lin Feng with bright eyes and said excitedly, Brother Lin, is what you said true? Is there really such a good place to cultivate? Don't fool me and make me happy for nothing. Of course not. Lin Feng smiled and said, To be honest, my main body broke through to the Saint King level, and this cultivation place played an important role. Whoosh! Jinji's eyes shone. However, we still need to wait for a while, Lin Feng said softly. His main body was still cultivating rapidly in the heavenly fire space, and his improvement was huge every second. Previously, when Qi Ling Xian was in such a dangerous situation, he held back. Now, he would not let his main body appear casually and waste such a good opportunity to cultivate. After all, the heavenly fire space was now an ownerless place. He could leave, but he could not enter again. How long? Jinji asked. When we leave the sorcerer territory and return to the southern region, it should be about time, Lin Feng said softly. Okay. Jinji clenched his fists and answered decisively. Besides the Tao of constellations, I still have many other things to do to advance to the Saint King level. There's no rush. After a pause, Jean Ji smiled. Moreover, Brother Lin is right. If I don't make good use of such a compatible heaven-grade treasure, it would be a waste. Yes. Lin Feng smiled faintly and said, You just have to increase your strength step by step. Sometimes, breaking through may not be as you think. Breakthroughs were unpredictable by the will of the heavens. Lin Feng had a deep understanding of this. He had always wanted to break through the bottleneck of the Saint King level, but he had repeatedly hit a wall. Especially his clone, which had reached the peak of the Saint King level a long time ago. It could be said that the obstacle was very small, and he was only one step away. Even on the 108 steps of the fearsome ground, he had focused on cultivating his clone. Who would have thought that his main body would break through first? He had never thought well of it, but after cultivating bit by bit and improving step by step, then, he broke through. It was a casual breakthrough, after which, he temporarily gave up on comprehending the mystery of the Sparrow Slayer. He thought that he was absolutely safe in Emperor Yan's city. Who would have thought that a battle would break out not long after he entered? And because of this, his doppelganger finally caught a glimpse of the mystery of the Sparrow Slayer and became clearer and clearer? The affairs of the world were just so wonderful. When you think about it, it doesn't appear. But when you don't think about it, it sends itself to you. There are many things to do. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. I have to find the purple moon, seize the opportunity to fully comprehend the mystery of Sparrow Kill, and explore the secrets of the shaman coins. But for now, let's wait for Thousand Love Sovereign to finish her treatment first. Lin Feng pondered. No matter how important the matter was, it could be put aside for the time being. Even if he were to cultivate now, he would not be able to concentrate as he was constantly worried about Thousand Love Empress's safety. Rather than cultivating intermittently and causing his mind to be distracted, it would not be too late to take it slowly after everything had settled down. In the library. In the villa area there was a rather large library. In the nearly 10,000 square meters room, there were more than 100,000 books of different sizes. They were divided into different categories and were dazzling. At a glance, there were all kinds of words, which gave one a headache. Lin Feng pondered for a moment as he recalled the scene in Yin Imperial City. He did not recognize the 3 words of the huge Qi Ling Xian. In the Do Ling world, the 3 languages are the most widespread and the most common. The ancient race language, the witch race language, and the demon race language. Lin Feng thought to himself. Thousand Love Sovereign had mentioned these to him before. Including herself, she was proficient in the ancient race and the witch race language. Shun, King Lu, King Yen. Basically, to travel in the Do Ling world, one must learn the witch race language. Lin Feng thought to himself. He was already mentally prepared for this. The ancient race language and the human race language were universal and did not need to be learned. However, he must master the witch race language. After all, he was the lord of the southern region. I heard from Thousand Love Sovereign that the demon race language is quite difficult to learn. It's easy to hear but hard to say. The structure of the demon race and the human race language is quite different. Let's talk about this later. Lin Feng nodded. Compared to the demon race language, the witch race language was more important. In fact, after the experts of the demon race took human form, many of them would learn the witch race language or the ancient race language. Hence, it was not that important to learn the demon race language. Lin Feng strolled around casually, looking for the language category. He scanned through the books one by one. On each bookshelf, there was a name of the category. It was marked in the witch race language and the ancient race language. Hence, he could understand it. It was quite human-like. Soon, it's here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw the word language clearly. Language was a rather large category. It ranged from the witch race, the ancient race language, and the demon race language to the divine beasts, the strange beasts, and the various neutral races. Even each race of the demon race had its own language. If one were to really count, there would be tens of thousands of different languages. There were about a few hundred books on this bookshelf. It was quite a lot. At the very least, it should have everything. Encyclopedia of the Ancient Race Language, Demon Race Language, Basics of the Witch Race Common Language. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he immediately took it down. The words on the top were clearly displayed. It was a thick book with the Ancient Race Language translation. It was like a dictionary. This was it. There's also Advancements of the Witch Race Common Language, Encyclopedia of the Witch Race Common Language. Lin Feng glanced through the books and smiled. He was not in a hurry. He had to take one step at a time. It was impossible to reach the sky in one step. He would first learn the basics of the Witch Race Common Language. He glanced at the other bookshelves. There were similar Witch Race language books, but this one was much more pleasing to the eye. Most importantly, it was quite thick. Thick meant that there were more words. It meant that the explanation was clear. When learning the Witch Race language, he might learn the thin one quickly, but it might not be better than the thick one. There was nothing wrong with being more careful. Just as he was about to leave, suddenly, Lin Feng was slightly stunned. His gaze fell on the furthest bookshelf. It was the same bookshelf, but there were only a dozen books, and they were all quite thin. Compared to the other bookshelves, each of which had hundreds of books, the bookshelf in the furthest corner of the row was undoubtedly strange and had a mysterious aura. "It's interesting," Lin Feng said softly. He walked slowly to the furthest corner. His gaze fell on the bookshelf. Suddenly, wow! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The Fallen Witch Mountain. The Torn Blood Evil 10,000 Ghosts formation was no longer powerful. The ghost soldiers were killed one by one. The sage kings of the witch race led by Hudu and Xian Ming exhausted all their strength to protect the witch race army. Now, as the Blood Evil 10,000 Ghosts formation was broken and connected to the outside world, how could Hudu and Xian Ming not know? No matter how much strength they had used, they were sage kings after all. However, they did not choose to leave. Instead, they continued to fight with the remaining ghost soldiers. Killing one was one. During the time they fled, their clansmen would suffer fewer casualties. The guilt in Hutu and Xian Ming's hearts was no less than Gomang's. They could not absolve themselves from the blame for this defeat. Before they left, their eldest brother, Di Jiang, had repeatedly told them not to participate in the battle. In the end, their impulsiveness and willfulness had caused the witch race army to suffer. Vast and mighty. Although the gap was small, the witch race experts rushed out in a line. They were extremely fast. Witch King Di Jiang's face was pale. He had used up a lot of strength, but he did not show any signs of weakness. He stood in the void with his head held high and looked down like a king. As the leader of the witch race, he could not show his weak side at any time, even if it meant death. Because he was the spiritual leader of the witch race. We're still a little late. Di Jiang's heart sank. The death rate of the middle army was about 50%. This was a huge number. Compared to the death rate of the witch race army, the loss of the demon race army was almost negligible. Although the demon race army was not much less than the witch race army in terms of numbers, it was a completely different number. The demon race did not care if one of them died. Similar to humans, the demon race's reproduction ability was very strong. But for the witch race, one of them died. It was a real consumption of strength. Although half of them are still alive, a small number of them are seriously injured and have lost their combat ability. More than half of them are injured, and it will take more than a day or two for them to recover to their peak strength. Those who have retained their full strength and have only used up a little bit of their strength are the Saint Kings and individual saint. Di Jiang heaved a long sigh. His cold eyes were filled with sorrow. Under his leadership, the sorcerer tribe had never suffered such a crushing defeat. Underestimating the enemy is indeed a big taboo on the battlefield. I wanted to beat the demon race into the bottomless abyss in one go. In the end, I was the one who was slapped in the face. This time, it's really troublesome. Which King Dejiang raised his head. His eyes were confused. Defeat was not the end and doomsday, but he did not have much time left. With this crushing defeat, the witch race had a slim chance of making a comeback in a short time. The balance of the battle tilted towards the demon race again. As expected, enduring and waiting for an opportunity to counterattack is my style? Dejiang laughed self-deprecatingly. He wanted to do the same and repeat the second great witch race, but time was not on his side. On the other side, Gomang had gone completely crazy. He fought with his life and did not care about his own safety at all. His astral origin power seemed to be inexhaustible. His face was ferocious and bloody. Tick, tick, blood dripped from his wounds. He was seriously injured, but Gomang seemed to feel no pain. He attacked the demon race army like a fierce ghost. He fought the 4 demon emperors of the demon race by himself. Even Dejiang wouldn't do such a thing, but Gomang was doing it with the determination to die. In terms of individual strength, even the weakest of the 4 demon emperors, Fox Princess, was stronger than Gomang. However, in terms of fighting spirit and determination, Gomang's combat ability soared sharply when he used all kinds of self-destructive moves. Right now, he had the strength to fight with any of the 4 demon emperors. He was fearless. He was even prepared to sacrifice himself, to atone for his sins. Roar! He roared. Blood light boiled with astral origin power. Gomang's killing intent was awe-inspiring. Chapter 1367. Lunatic. Fox Concubine frowned. She had already retreated. She waved her soft arms. Countless beams of light seemed to appear in the void. Many powerful sorcerer tribe cultivators fell. However, under Gomang's protection, the number of sorcerer tribe cultivators who died was not that high. After all, he was like an iron wall protecting the sorcerer tribe army. Humans were all selfish. Demons were the same. Especially since the 4 demon emperors belonged to 4 different races. No matter how harmonious they appeared on the surface, there would always be a barrier in their hearts. This fatal weakness had been completely exploited by Demon Emperor Dejiang during the Second Great War of the Sorcerer Tribe. It was slowly showing now. Fox Concubine, Kuei Tianyuan, and Niu Yunlei. The 3 demon emperors did not really fight. They were just casually slaughtering the Sorcerer Tribe army. The only one who really fought with Gomang was the single-celled Xiong Bao. Otherwise, even if Gomang used all his strength, how could he still survive under the 4 demon emperors' hands? They just did not want to be injured. To Fox Concubine, Kuei Tianyuan, and Niu Yunlei, Gomang was a tile, but they were precious jade. Even if they could easily break the tile, there would inevitably be some cracks on the jade. They naturally did not want to. Most importantly, Xiong Bao was there. With Xiong Bao's strength and their simple coordination, Gomang's death was only a matter of time. Therefore, the battle had been delayed. Although Gomang was severely injured, he was proficient in wood origin energy. Regardless of whether it was defense or recovery, he was ranked in the top 3 among the Witch Kings. It would not be easy for Xiong Bao to kill him. It was a mess. Blood flowed everywhere. Casualties were everywhere. Not only the sorcerer tribe, but also the demon race cultivators. Although the sniper army was made up of all saints and was guarded by the 4 demon emperors, the sorcerer tribe army's strength under Gomang's leadership could not be underestimated. Both sides had suffered heavy losses in this battle. Screams, angry roars, and the crazy sound of star origin energy colliding formed the main melody of the entire battlefield. The sorcerer tribe and the demon race were originally in a situation where only one side would die. Although the sorcerer tribe cultivators were dying one after another, their morale was high. More importantly, it was still on Gomang's body. Tian Yuan, Huji. Bai Yunlei's eyes were solemn as he finally spoke. What do you mean? Kuei Tianyuan appeared, his blood-red eyes glowing with light. Beside him, Foxy's beautiful figure flickered as she smiled charmingly. Let's not drag this out any longer. Let's work together to get rid of Gomang. Bai Yunlei's expression was solemn. To capture bandits, capture the leader first. The reason why the Magi's morale is still high is because of Gomang. If we kill Gomang, the shaman army will collapse on its own. After pondering for a while, Kuei Tianyuan nodded. I agree. Fox Ji's beautiful eyes flickered. She smiled coquettishly. Since Big Brother Ji has spoken, Fox Ji naturally agrees. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the expressions of the three demons changed. What a powerful aura! Bai Yunlei frowned. Fox Princess's beautiful eyes flashed as she said softly, It's Hudu and Xianming, the two great Magus kings. How did they come out of the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts array? Kuei Tianyuan's expression was cold as he said in a deep voice. The three demons looked at each other. Their eyes flashed brighter and brighter. The shaman army is here too. There are quite a lot of them. I'm afraid the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts array has been broken. Impossible. The only way to break the blood fiend 10,000 ghosts formation is to have a power much stronger than it, or to have used up all of its energy. How could it? Kuei Tianyuan's expression changed. He suddenly paused as if he had thought of something. He looked at Niu Yunlei and Fox Princess. The three demons' faces were ashen. It's him. Other than him, there's no other possibility. Damn it. The three demons' eyes were filled with hatred and anger, but there was also a trace of fear that even they themselves could not detect. At that moment, they could only think of one person who could make them and the entire shaman race tremble. That person's name was Di Jiang. Emperor Di Jiang. Beep. A loud and clear whistle sounded in the sky. In an instant, the expressions of the demon clan members who were in the midst of battle changed. They immediately gave up on the battle and left like a tidal wave. They came quickly and left even faster. The army formed by martial sage experts could come and go freely without any restrictions. The shaman race experts were also stunned. They did not understand why the demon race, who had the absolute advantage, retreated inexplicably. Like a gust of wind, they disappeared in the blink of an eye. But soon they understood. Rumble! Rumble! The earth shook and the sky rumbled. Behind them, the shaman race army surged forward in an imposing manner. Even though they had lost half of their army, there were still many of them left. Especially Hutu and Xianming, who were at the front. They were murderous and would kill anyone who stood in their way. Most importantly, right above the sorcerer tribe's army, there was a man standing proudly on an arc in the sky. He had his hands behind his back and looked domineering. He had come. The four demon emperors were not stupid. With their strength, Emperor Di Jiang still had the advantage in a 4-on-1 battle. However, with the addition of Emperor Di, Hutu, Xianming, and the crazy Gomang, their strength would be equal. With the arrival of the shaman race army, they had the absolute advantage in terms of numbers. If they continued to fight, the demon race would suffer great losses. No matter how many ordinary experts died, the demon race would not be heartbroken. However, it was different for martial sage experts. In the war of shamans and demons, martial sage experts were very important. However, a large part of the reason why they left in a hurry was because of Emperor Di Jiang. His name was enough to make them fear him. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Emperor Di Jiang was very famous. In the entire Dou Ling world, no one could be compared to him. In the Second War of Shamans and Demons, he had made great contributions and defeated the demon race. In the Dou Ling world, Emperor Di Jiang was recognized as the strongest expert. He was also the existence closest to a starry sky expert. It was normal for the 4 demon emperors to be afraid. In their minds, Emperor Di Jiang could defeat Bull Demon and break the Blood Evil 10,000 Ghosts formation. What else could he not do? How could they have guessed that Emperor Di Jiang was only an empty shell now? Including Hutu and Xianming, their strength had been greatly depleted. If they really wanted to fight, if the 4 demon emperors could be ruthless, they might be able to severely injure the shaman race experts this time. However, there were no ifs. In the library, Lin Feng's eyes were shining brightly. He felt suffocated. There were only a dozen books on the bookshelf in front of him. However, each book was very different from the previous one. In particular, there was a platinum book on the highest level. It was inlaid with a layer of light gold. What surprised him was not its decoration, but the words written on it. He recognized these words. Although he did not understand what they meant, the structure of these words was exactly the same as the parchment he had obtained in the Sparrow King prison. Starry Sky words. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. He did not expect to see starry sky words here. The structure was exactly the same and could be clearly distinguished. What did the starry sky words represent? The world of the real starry sky experts. Pa! He took down the platinum book. The words on it made him feel strange, but also familiar. Looking at it, he seemed to be able to feel the existence of a force. This platinum book was different from the other books on the bookshelf. It was indescribably mysterious. What was it? Lin Feng's eyes were sparkling. After a long time, he shook his head. Maybe it's just a feeling. Muttering in his heart, Lin Feng was about to open the book casually. Suddenly, a faint golden force flashed, and with a bang, it shook open. This is? Lin Feng was slightly startled, and his eyes were burning. Above the platinum book, there was a faint residual energy, like a natural layer of protection. Lin Feng made a soft sound and became more and more curious. His eyes lit up, and he gently released a stream of star source energy to test the energy secret of the platinum book. However, bang! Once again, he was blocked outside. Could it be that books also have the right to read? Lin Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Looking left and right, the more he looked, the more bizarre it was, but he had never heard of or seen it before. He could not understand the starry sky words on the top, so he naturally did not know the secret of this strange platinum book. After pondering for a while, he could not do anything about it, so he put it back on the bookshelf. If there's a chance, I'll ask the Northern Longsho. Lin Feng thought. The book was in the Northern Longsho's villa, so he naturally knew. His gaze immediately fell on the middle of the bookshelf. The other books did not have the strange platinum color. Lin Feng randomly picked a book, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The book he took was not thick. Not only were there starry sky words on it, but there were also sorcerer tribe words, which seemed to be annotations. However, he did not know either. Let's look at the others. Lin Feng put it back, curious. Since there were annotations in sorcerer tribe words, would there be annotations in ancient tribe words? Soon, he had an answer. Starry Sky Words Identification Record. Lin Feng held a thick book and his eyes shone brightly. At the top of the book, in addition to the familiar Starry Sky words, there were annotations in ancient tribe words. This was not the original book, but a handwritten copy. It was probably translated by an ancient tribe expert. Just what he wanted. The human territory is indeed poor, unlike the sorcerer tribe, which has everything. I can even learn the starry sky words. Lin Feng was quite happy. Then, he took the starry sky words identification record. To him, learning to recognize the starry sky words was as important as learning the sorcerer tribe words. It might come in handy at some point. Moreover, it was not easy to learn the starry sky words. Perhaps he would not have the opportunity to leave the villa soon? After all, as far as he knew, such books did not exist in the human territory. What he saw now was in his hands. He would think about the rest later. These 2 books, Lin Feng said softly. He smiled indifferently and was not greedy. Then, he walked to the room on the other side of the library. There were many thousand-fold time inscription arrays of the highest standard. It was extremely rare in the human territory, but it seemed to be very common in the sorcerer tribe. The time inscription array was useless for refining weapons and comprehending the Tao of constellations. However, it was perfect for reading books. One day was enough for him to read these 2 books. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure disappeared. Chapter 1368. Learning words was not as difficult as he had imagined. Even though there was no teacher to guide him in the time engraving formation, self-study would only take a few times more effort. It was nothing in the engraved patterns formation with 1,000 times the speed of time. It was only 1 day in the engraved patterns formation. However, learning and cultivation were different. When cultivating, one would close one's eyes and enter a state of mind. When one woke up, it might be 1,000 days or even 10,000 days. However, when learning, one's mind was completely awake. In the time engraving formation, a day was a real day. It was quite solid. If one stayed for a long time, one's mind would naturally be tired. However, Lin Feng would not stay for 1,000 days. Moreover, he did not know when Dr. Ning would finish his treatment. Basically, every hour, he would go out to take a look and see Shi Jixin to ask about her progress. If anything happened, he could react immediately. 2 hours passed, but he was not lonely. Really, Lin Degu, there are so many books that the human region does not have? Shi Jixin's beautiful eyes widened. Yes, it's shocking. Lin Feng smiled and said, Jixin, are you interested too? Nodding heavily, Shi Jixin looked at the closed door and said softly, Sister Qian told me that the reason why she has rich experience is because of her parents, but most of it is from books. Smiling, Shi Jixin said, I originally planned to learn more after returning to the southern region and enrich my experience. Her tone was quite certain, and her eyes were filled with persistence and determination. Lin Feng saw this and understood in his heart. Without experiencing it, one would not understand. There were many things that only those who had missed the right path would know which path to take. He had benefited a lot from this trip to the sorcerer tribe's territory, but to Shi Jixin, who had the least experience, it was also a real rebirth. Hi! Sasha greeted, and Jin Ji came over with a smile. Are you in a good mood? Lin Feng looked at Jin Ji. What good place did you find? Jin Ji raised his eyebrows and puffed out his chest. Can't you see, Brother Lin? Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he looked at her carefully. His heart skipped a beat. She changed her clothes? Jin Ji's smile instantly turned bitter, revealing a helpless expression. Shi Jixin snorted and muttered, smelly smugness, you only know how to look for benefits. What? Jin Ji's face instantly turned red. That's not the case, Lin Feng said with a faint smile. Brother Jin must have found a good medicinal pool and just finished soaking in it. Jin Ji glared at Lin Feng. How did you know, Brother Lin? That place is very secretive. I wandered around for a long time before I found it. You still have the smell of medicine on you. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he replied. Shi Jixin giggled, but Jin Ji didn't mind at all. He said casually, It's amazing. I've only soaked in it for 4 hours, and conservatively, my physical fitness has increased by at least 5%. 5%? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although the first soak has the best effect, 5% is still pretty good. Is that so? Jin Ji chuckled. Lin Feng nodded. With your saint-level body, it's very rare for you to have such a huge improvement. If you continue soaking in it, I believe your physical fitness will increase by 20 to 30%. Very good. Jinji clenched his fists, his eyes shining brightly. Lin Feng looked at Shi Jixin and said softly, Jixin, why don't you soak in it too? Your body is weaker than Jinji's, so the improvement should be greater, at least 30%. He only truly understood the wealth of the sorcerer tribe and the ancient tribe after he came out. If he stayed in the human territory, he would only be a frog in a well. The weakness of humans wasn't something that happened in a day or two. It wasn't just their natural aptitude that was weak, it was the same for the conditions they were born with. Although a part of the territory was given to humans, it was just a drop in the ocean compared to the vast wasteland world. Moreover, the density of spirit chi couldn't be compared to the sorcerer tribe and the ancient tribe's territory. He had been to the ancient southern region and then to the sorcerer tribe's territory, so he naturally knew. The sorcerer tribe and the ancient tribe didn't just have extremely strong natural abilities. Their strength in the Do Ling world gave them vast lands and endless treasures. The strong would become stronger. This was an inherent principle. Other things aside, heaven-grade Khanate treasures were enough to show the difference between the two sides. They were like legends in the human territory. Although they were rare in the sorcerer tribe's territory, there were actually many of them. According to Qian Lian Huang, heaven-grade treasures would occasionally be auctioned in Yen Imperial City. This showed the difference. Let's go, Brother Lin. I'll take you there first, Jinji said. No need. Lin Feng smiled and declined. My body can no longer be improved by these external aids. Jinji was stunned. Shi Jixin also widened her beautiful eyes. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. His doppelganger had inherited the body of a strong martial artist in the starry sky. The seven spirits had already become one, like porcelain. Only by breaking through from the martial saint level to the sage king level, and then from the sage king level to the starry sky, would there be a qualitative improvement. It was like being reforged. At this moment, not far away, a door slowly opened. Lin Feng and the other two's eyes lit up. That was where Qian Lian Huang and Dr. Ning were. It was completely sealed, and even their auras were blocked, so they couldn't sense them. Now that the door opened, Dr. Ning walked out slowly. Although his face was slightly pale, he seemed to be in good spirit. She's fine. She's already awake, Dr. Ning said calmly. These two short sentences explained everything. Lin Feng and the other two were overjoyed, and their faces bloomed with smiles. Especially Lin Feng, who could finally let out a long sigh of relief. If Qian Lian Huang was left with sequelae because of helping him, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. Thank you, Dr. Ning. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. You're welcome. Dr. Ning nodded and looked at Lin Feng. Next time, don't hold me hostage. Lin Feng smiled embarrassedly. Everyone laughed as well, and the heavy atmosphere instantly vanished with a joke. At that time, it was just a coincidence. By the way, are you on good terms with the Northern Longsho? He arranged for you to stay in the Imperial Garden. Dr. Ning looked around and a light flashed in his eyes. He was slightly surprised. I heard that the last guest in the Imperial Garden was one of the 7 ancient gods of the ancient clan. Imperial Garden. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He understood that Dr. Ning was talking about this villa. Remembering it in his heart, Lin Feng smiled and didn't answer Dr. Ning. In fact, he didn't know what his relationship with the Northern Longsho was. According to Dr. Ning, since he was staying in the Imperial Garden, his relationship with the Northern Longsho should be quite good. He should be treated as one of the 7 ancient gods of the ancient clan. No wonder there were so many treasures in this villa. Its origin wasn't small. Dr. Ning, how long will it take for Sister Qian to recover? Shi Jixin asked nervously. Oh, Dr. Ning pondered. If she takes the star pill on time, she should be able to recover 30% of her strength in 10 days. In a month, she should be able to recover 50% of her strength. As for a complete recovery, it will take a long time. After all, a soul injury needs time to heal, unless… Unless what? Shi Jixin's eyes flashed. Dr. Ning said indifferently, "It's nothing. She should be able to rest well. In 3 months, she should be able to recover 70% to 80% of her strength. In a year, she should be able to recover 99% of her strength." His voice carried a hint of pride. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He could see that Dr. Ning was very confident in his medical skills. Shi Jixin wanted to ask more, but Jin Ji grabbed her wrist. "Many thanks, Dr. Ning." Lin Feng expressed his gratitude. "You're welcome," Dr. Ning said indifferently. "Since the Northern Longsho has given me the order, I will do my best to complete it. Goodbye." After saying that, he left in a huff. His expression carried a hint of pride, but it was true that he was a real doctor. TSK, her soul was seriously injured and she entered a state of suspended animation. He actually guaranteed that she would be able to recover 99% of her strength in a year. Jin Ji's eyes burned. If this Dr. Ning isn't bragging, then he's really amazing. Looking at the departing figure, Lin Feng said seriously, "Since the Northern Longsho recommended him, he can't be wrong. I wonder how much treatment will cost?" Jin Ji muttered to himself. "We definitely can't afford it." Lin Feng smiled indifferently. "Let's go. Lian Huang has woken up. Let's go see her." Then, he strode away. This time, he seemed to have owed the Northern Longsho a huge favor. In the room, Shi Jixin cried and hugged Thousand Love Empress tightly, her tears and snot intertwined. She revealed her sincere feelings. She had long treated Lian Huang as her biological sister. Now that she had woken up safe and sound, the emotions that she had suppressed for a long time turned into tears. On the other hand, Lian Huang patted her back and comforted her with a weak smile. "Aren't I fine now, sister?" Lian Huang's voice was slightly hoarse. She looked sick, but her spirit was still good. Her body was emitting a rich vitality that was nourishing her. Lin Feng looked over and saw the difference in Lian Huang. Being sick for a long time made a good doctor. He had lingered on the edge of death countless times. Although Lian Huang's injuries were not light, she was gradually recovering under Dr. Ning's treatment. Although a year was a long time, the most important thing was not to leave a lasting illness. Everything else was secondary. Before, Dr. Ning wanted to say something but hesitated. He could already guess what it was. It must be some kind of heavenly treasure. It must be very precious. There was no need to argue. Moreover, he did not have enough money. If he wanted Lian Huang to recover faster, he could bring her back to the Stepping Star Mansion to treat her injuries. Soon, as Shi Jixin's emotions gradually calmed down, everyone returned to normal. They chatted and talked about what happened after that. The process was like a wave, causing Lian Huang's beautiful eyes to flicker. "Lian Huang, you didn't see Brother Lin's expression at that time. He was angry for a beauty," Jin Ji said excitedly. "That's right. Lin Degu is so powerful. He faced all the three-eyed monsters alone and destroyed their souls," Shi Jixin said from the side. "Thank you, Lin Feng." Lian Huang looked over, her beautiful eyes sparkling with a strange color. Lin Feng knew that something was wrong. This kind of gaze was familiar. He had experienced it before. This was not good. Chapter 1369. That's what I should do. Lin Feng interrupted Jin Ji and Shi Jixin's compliment. With a faint smile, Lin Feng looked at Lian Huang and said softly, "How do you feel, Lian Huang?" "That's right, big sister. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere else?" Shi Jixin asked. Her little face was red with anxiety. Gently shaking her head, Qian Lian Huang smiled weakly and said, "Thank you for your concern. After Dr. Ning's treatment, I'm fine. I just need to rest for a month, and try not to fight for a year. If my soul is injured again, it won't be a joke. Rest assured and recuperate here, Lian Huang." Lin Feng's eyes were filled with concern. "Yes, this is the Northern Dragon Guard's territory. I heard it's called the Imperial Lotus Garden. It's used to entertain important guests. It's absolutely safe." Jin Ji patted his chest. Qian Lian Huang's eyes lit up. "Don't be so smug. He's not giving you face." Shi Jixin pinched her nose. "Hey, Lin Feng and I are brother Lin. There's no distinction between us, right, brother Lin?" Jin Ji said indifferently. "Of course." Lin Feng smiled and nodded. His gaze fell on Shi Jixin and Qian Lian Huang. "We came from the southern region together. We're the closest of comrades. Naturally, we'll share blessings and misfortunes. After entering the sorcerer realm, although the road is bumpy and there are many calamities, at least now we're at the peak of our misfortunes." Jin Ji and Shi Jixin nodded in agreement. Qian Lian Huang smiled faintly, but there was a hint of bitterness in her smile. Lin Feng saw that and was naturally clear about it. Regardless of whether it was Jin Ji or Shi Jixin, they might have suffered a calamity, but their efforts paid off. Both of them were compatible with a heavenly treasure. Although they were only red-grade heavenly treasures, they were connected with each other and automatically compatible with each other. Such treasures were not only easy to cultivate and control, but also easy to combine with each other to unleash the strongest power. To some extent, the compatibility of the treasures was more important than the quality of the treasures. Just like whether a weapon was suitable to use. Among the crowd, he had gained the most, including Jin Ji. They did not even know that he had coincidentally obtained one of the 3 heavenly treasures. Only Qian Lian Huang was the unluckiest among all of them. Not only did she not get anything, she was also injured again and again. She almost died in the sorcerer realm. Now, he needed to recuperate for a full year. He could be said to be extremely unlucky. Although she didn't complain, she definitely didn't feel good in her heart. As for himself, he had long since decided to give her some sort of compensation. Or perhaps a small surprise. There's no need to keep treasures to oneself. Treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. To him, no matter how many heavenly ranked treasures he possessed, he would only be able to utilize 1 or 2 of them, so what was the point of having more? Rather than selling it to someone else, why not give it to Thousand Love Emperor? The friendship between friends was 1,000 times more important than money. In an instant, swish! Lin Feng's eyes glowed, and a light appeared in his hand. As Jin Ji and Shi Jixin exclaimed, 2 treasures with different colors floated in the air and appeared in front of Thousand Love Emperor. The latter's beautiful eyes flickered, and she was extremely surprised. "Lin Feng, you are." Thousand Love Emperor said softly, and the light in her eyes showed that she understood Lin Feng's intention. "They are all meteor rare treasures. Pick one, Emperor Lian." Lin Feng smiled indifferently. It was a simple sentence, but it was enough to move Qian Lian Huang. Those were heavenly ranked treasures. In the human territory, they were legendary existences. 1 orange and 1 red, both of them were priceless, enough to make King Sage experts go crazy. But now, Lin Feng took them all out for her to choose. His heart was more important than the treasures. "This is too precious, Lin Feng." Thousand Love Emperor pursed her lips. Although there was some desire in her eyes, she still shook her head. "I can't accept it without any effort." "Don't be so calculative, Emperor Lian," Lin Feng said softly. His eyes flashed. "We're a team. You're not the only one who has a share of the treasures I've obtained. Brother Jin and Jixin both have a share. Now you're the only one left." This. Even so, Thousand Love Emperor was still hesitant. "Take it, Emperor Lian." Jin Ji also persuaded. Looking at Thousand Love Emperor's expression, Lin Feng knew that she was shy and would be embarrassed to accept it. He smiled and said, "If you don't accept it, then you don't treat us as friends." "No, that's not what I meant." Thousand Love Emperor shook her head, and her beautiful face blushed. At this moment, Shirji Xian's beautiful eyes lit up as if she had thought of something. She said, "Wait, sister, I have one more." As she spoke, she took out a treasure with lightning speed. It flashed with a yellow light, and instantly covered the red and orange lights in the air. A yellow class innate treasure. Its grade was extraordinarily high. It was because she had obtained this treasure by chance that Shirji Xian was hunted by the demons of Crimson Mist. Whoosh! Her eyes lit up completely, and the whole room was filled with a strange energy. Lin Feng said softly, "Oh." His gaze fell on the yellow light. At this moment, it seemed to have merged with Thousand Love Emperor and wrapped her in a strange space. Thousand Love Emperor reached out her hand absent-mindedly, and just as she touched the yellow light, instantly, whoosh! The yellow class innate treasure emitted a bright light. A powerful energy spread out, and waves of energy shot out like waves. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he reacted quickly, shielding Jin Ji and Shirji Xian behind him. Bang! The energy collided, but there was no malice. It was just a form of self-protection. Lin Feng looked over, and Thousand Love Emperor's figure had already disappeared. No, to be precise, it should be isolated. It was similar to when Jin Ji fused with the red class innate treasure. However, the energy now was stronger, and it had a deep foundation. The yellow light was as bright as the horizon, and it enveloped the whole room. At this moment, everything became clear. Thousand Love Emperor had fused with it. Pa! The door was gently closed. Lin Feng and the other two stepped out of the door, and they looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. But it was a smile from the bottom of their hearts, and they were happy for Thousand Love Emperor. After going through so much and sacrificing so much, Thousand Love Emperor had finally found her opportunity. There was no fear of delay, and there was no fear of waiting for an opportunity. It would come to her sooner or later. "Great, this is really great," Shirji Xian muttered, and tears welled up in her eyes. But this time, it wasn't tears of sadness, but of joy. Lin Feng saw it, and he understood. Jixin had always felt guilty towards Thousand Love Emperor, thinking that it was her who caused Thousand Love Emperor to become like this. Now that Thousand Love Emperor had fused with her yellow class innate treasure, it was like a cycle of karma, and it reduced the guilt in Jixin's heart. Because of this yellow class innate treasure, Thousand Love Emperor was seriously injured. That's why she faked her death and fainted. Fate came and went, and it all started with this yellow class innate treasure. It's fate. Lin Feng smiled. Thousand Love Emperor had fused with it. After all, she needed to recuperate, and it just so happened that she had fused with the innate treasure, killing two birds with one stone. Shirji Xian volunteered to be the guard. Even though Lin Feng and Jin Ji wanted to help her, the little girl was very determined, and they let her be. After all, it wasn't a big deal. In the Royal Lotus Garden, even if it wasn't a place for cultivation, the spirit energy was still very dense. Shirji Xian and Jin Ji were the same. In terms of combat power, they were considered the best among the humans, but they had yet to reach the peak of the martial saint level. Cultivation was essential. The 12 royal constellations have the advantage in front of the starry sky experts. Not only does their potential explode early, but the sensitivity of the constellations is also much higher than other constellations, and the star seal already exists at the star domain level. If it was an ordinary martial artist, it would take a lot of time just to absorb the star source energy from the high saint level to the peak of the martial saint level. But for the 12 royal constellations, even if they don't take the initiative to cultivate and absorb, the star seal will be connected to heaven and earth, and absorb automatically, including the Tao of the constellations. Looking at Shizhen, who was sitting cross-legged and had completely entered a state of cultivation, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Even so, the little girl's talent was quite good. She was able to cultivate to the high saint level in a short time. At her age, he would not be able to withstand a single blow. This trip to the sorcerer territory was a real-life lesson for Shizhen, and it would be of great help to her future. That delicate and beautiful face was still young and inexperienced, but it had lost some of its childishness and gained some maturity. Xin had really learned a lot. I can't fall behind. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Then he turned around and went back to the library. As the future human emperor, his path. It was still very long. Basics of the sorcerer race's common language, starry sky text identification record. In the engraving formation, Lin Feng patiently learned. Although it was very boring, perseverance and persistence had always been Lin Feng's strong point. Basics of the sorcerer race's common language was not difficult, and he quickly mastered it. But starry sky text identification record, it was very difficult. The real starry sky text was extensive and profound. Even a little bit of it was much better than the sorcerer race's language. In addition, there was no teacher, so he had to figure everything out by himself. It took him 3 days in reality to barely finish reading the first time. He understood a little. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long breath. He calmed down and read the starry sky text. He yearned for it. He really wanted to know what the sky outside the Douling world was like and how vast the world was where his master and Duo existed. As his strength increased, his state of mind was also constantly changing. It was as if he was walking on a road and looking at the surrounding scenery. He saw different scenery on every road, and his thoughts were changing. Actually, he enjoyed this feeling very much. He yearned to become stronger, to fight, and to break the restrictions. Wow! Leaving the time engraving formation, Lin Feng took the basics of the sorcerer race's common language and went to the bookshelf. After reading the starry sky text for a long time, he still felt a little tired. He went to change to Advanced Sorcerer Race's Common Language and Complete Sorcerer Race's Common Language to learn and master the simpler Sorcerer Race's language. Soon, he put one book back and took 2 books. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. In fact, it was a pleasure for him to be able to calm down and read books like this. He smiled. Lin Feng was about to leave when his eyes suddenly lit up. He subconsciously looked at the empty bookshelf in the corner. The platinum book suddenly appeared in his mind. It had a strange and mysterious power. Oh right, I've just started to understand the starry sky text. Maybe I can already understand a little. With that thought in mind, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 1370. How could he not be curious? A book that couldn't be opened, a book with mystical powers, and starry sky language. What kind of secret did this book hold? Lin Feng's gaze was clear as he once again walked to the lonely bookshelf in the corner. The platinum book was still the same as a few days ago. It sat there quietly, but this time, it gave him a completely different feeling. It was as if he had a deeper understanding of it. Starry sky language. Although he only had a basic understanding of it and couldn't pronounce it properly, he was already somewhat confident in recognizing the words. Pa! When Lin Feng held it in his hand, it felt unusually heavy. Lin Feng glanced at the faint golden edges, but they were just decorations. The reason why this platinum book had such power was because of the words at the top. 3 large words that looked like dragons flying and phoenixes dancing. Cleansing Fire Codex. Hua! He was completely immersed in it, especially the word fire at the very center. When he first saw it, he didn't understand it, but now that he truly recognized the starry sky language, he couldn't help but have a deeper understanding of it. It was like the embodiment of a true flame. Compared to the other two words, the word fire shocked him even more. However, it was only shock and nothing else. Perhaps I'll have a different state of mind if I look at it from my original body, Lin Feng thought to himself. Although he didn't know the origin of this cleansing fire codex and what it was clearly not an ordinary book. Lin Feng relaxed his aura and tried to open the cleansing fire codex again. However, the result was exactly the same. It didn't change because he recognized a few words. He couldn't flip through it. How interesting! Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He was rather curious. Compared to the other books on the bookshelf, this cleansing fire codex was very special. It made him feel moved. However, he was just curious. After all, no matter how miraculous the cleansing fire codex was, it was only a collection in the library. In terms of value, it would not be too valuable. Otherwise, the Northern Longsho would have stored it away properly instead of wasting it like this. If there's a chance, I'll ask the Northern Dragon Guard. Lin Feng smiled calmly. He didn't pay much attention to it and put the cleansing fire manual back. Then, he looked at the other books on the bookshelf. This time, he was completely refreshed. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he casually picked up a copy of First News of the Galaxy and started to read it. Above it was a record of the world of the Starry Sky experts in the form of note. Other than the Starry Sky language, there was also a translation of the wizard race's language below, allowing him to interpret it more clearly. It's very similar to what Toto said. Lin Feng skimmed through the book and smiled casually. However, Duodwa's narration is more concise and intuitive, as if he is looking down from the sky. But what is written in this book is what he saw and heard when he first entered the world of stars. As if he understood, Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Back then, he didn't understand anything. Although he felt that the starry sky was far away, he didn't care. However, now that he was close, he felt some pressure. He also had a deep understanding of how powerful Toto and his master were. Even in the Starry Sky world, they were ranked among the top experts. In the Do Ling world, even the strongest wizard emperor and demon commander were inferior to an ordinary Starry Sky expert. Starry Sky world. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Then, he stopped reading and closed First News of the Galaxy and put it back on the bookshelf. Instead of reading these, it was better to ask Toto directly in the future. It would also save him a lot of detours. But to the current him, these were still too far away, too insignificant. Let's take it one step at a time. Right now, mastering the wizard race's language is the priority. Lin Feng said softly. Advanced wizard race's common language. Complete wizard race's common language. After mastering the basics of the wizard race's language, Lin Feng continued to work hard and did not stop. Although learning the language alone was very boring, he had such good learning conditions. Not only did he have a library that far surpassed the human region, but he also had a 1,000-fold time inscription array. How could he waste it? If he missed the opportunity, he would not have it. Right now, it was a great opportunity to read. Moreover, when he was tired from reading, he could find other things to relieve himself. He would not continue to read blindly. Practicing the spear. Although he could not practice the spear moves, he could combine it with the astral origin power and the constellation Tao. However, he could return to the origin and comprehend the essence of the spear. Practicing the basic spear moves and comprehending the true essence of the spear was like a kind of contact with the heart. Clang! The tip of the spear vibrated. Lin Feng stood upright and held the spear at a 90-degree angle. Since young, he had been practicing the spear like this. This spear stance seemed boring, but he was focused and integrated with the spear. It was as if only he and the spear were left in the entire world. There was no other power in the entire space. The comprehension in his heart was clear and transparent. Cloud Spear Holy Lord's realm is extremely high. However, North Dragon Guard's spear technique realm is inferior. He is far inferior to Cloud Spear Holy Lord. However, the two of them are made from the same mold. Cloud Spear Holy Lord's today is North Dragon Guard's tomorrow. Most importantly, their spear techniques have already surpassed the Saint King level. They have reached the power system of the Starry Sky experts. Lin Feng muttered to himself. He was deeply enlightened. When he saw North Dragon Guard holding the spear, that feeling felt like eternity. It was not because of anything else. It was because he was too close to him. Cloud Spear Holy Lord's spear technique realm was too high. It was so high that he could not reach it. Naturally, he could not comprehend it. However, North Dragon Guard was different. He was like a staircase. His position and level was only one level higher than him. So close, yet worlds apart. He could see it. My spear technique realm is at the peak of the 8th level. After the Purple Crystal Spear's enhancement, it is at the peak of the 9th level. As for North Dragon Guard's spear technique realm, if I am not wrong, it should be above the peak of the 9th level. Using him as a goal and using him as a breakthrough point in my spear technique realm is the best way for me to cultivate. It is far better than pursuing Cloud Spear Holy Lord's illusory power. Although I do not know the difference between us, but the spear stance should be able to tell me. With a serious expression, Lin Feng was very persistent. Flames were more of a natural ability. However, the spear was something he had been interested in since young. He had a deep understanding of it and slowly gained his current strength step by step. Although he did not know the secrets of North Dragon Guard's spear technique realm and what the true power of a Saint King level spear technique realm was. However, the difference between them was very obvious. Holding the spear. Just the feeling of holding the spear was very different. Train non-stop. No matter how boring it was, this was the cultivation path of a martial artist. The path of cultivation was a long journey. If he could not even do the most basic perseverance and hard work, how could he stand at the peak of the Douling world? How could he survive in the Starry world? I will definitely break through the spear technique realm. I will reach a new level. Lin Feng's will was firm. Defeated. The sorcerer race was defeated. Under the invincible sorcerer emperor's leadership, the sorcerer race tasted defeat. It was an extremely painful defeat. The news spread like wildfire. In an instant, it spread across the entire Douling world, including the sorcerer race, the 7 ancient regions of the ancient race, and every corner of the human world. Everyone was shocked and aghast. The 8 Regions Alliance, which was originally bustling with noise and excitement, felt as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on them. They instantly sobered up. The ancient race experts of the 7 ancient regions even held an emergency meeting that night to discuss countermeasures. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. Only the southern region finally heaved a sigh of relief. That's great. King Lu was relieved and smiled bitterly. As a human, I am actually happy for the sorcerer race's defeat. King Yen shook his head helplessly. Even he found it funny. Looking at the two of them, Shun's eyes shone brightly. He said softly, although we are part of the human race, since we have embarked on this path, our future is destined to be bumpy and rugged. However, if we can continue on this path and find the true path, our future achievements will also be limitless. We will no longer have to depend on others and live in fear. If we want to succeed, we must fight and do what others cannot. Shun's voice was unusually firm. As Lin Feng's left hand, he supported Lin Feng 100%. Not only did he support him psychologically, but he also set an example and used the most direct actions to support him. Lin Feng could leave the southern region in peace and explore the sorcerer race's territory because he believed that with Shun around, all problems would be solved. With the defeat of the sorcerer race, the voices of the 9 provinces have weakened greatly. King Lu was very satisfied. Not only that, the number of people queuing at the teleportation points is decreasing bit by bit. From the initial opposition, everyone has turned to wait and see. King Yin nodded. Because many people have gradually seen it clearly. Shun's eyes shone brightly. He looked into the distance with his hands behind his back and said slowly, "The defeat of the sorcerer race this time has a far-reaching impact. Not only now, it will also affect the next series of battles. Believe me, the southern region will become better and better, because the demon race will truly erupt." Truly erupt. Shun's foresight was naturally not something ordinary people could compare to. Looking at the entire battle from the outside, he was very clear about the pros and cons, the current situation between the sorcerer and demon race, and how the scales were tilted. The defeat of the sorcerer race this time was not as simple as a single failure. It was the beginning of a series of failures. A rebound from the bottom of the valley. The demon race seized the last opportunity. How could the demon race let go of such a great opportunity to let the sorcerer race's army return home? Taking advantage of the time when the sorcerer race's old forces were exhausted and new forces had yet to be formed, the demon race officially launched a large-scale attack. With the fallen sorcerer mountain as the starting point, more and more troops appeared. They spread out like a fairy scattering flowers and attacked the human and ancient race territories crazily. Take their lives while they were weak. Taking advantage of the sorcerer race's weakness, the demon race attacked without restraint. This was the current combat strength of the demon race. Compared to the Second Great Magi-Demon War, the demon race was more comprehensive and better at military strategy. Once bitten, twice shy. It was not only applicable to humans but also to demons. No one would have thought that the reason why the demon race had changed so much was because of the existence of one more person, Lam Tok Ti. Chapter 1371. Military Advisor. Military Advisor. In the alliance led by the 4 demon emperors, Lam Tok Ti was now the military advisor of the demon clan. It was unprecedented. However, it was well-deserved. Although the demon clan was extremely disdainful of humans, Lam Tok Ti's contributions would not be erased, nor would they be taken over by other demon clans. This was something that the 4 demon emperors disdained to do. Even the most scheming fox princess would not do it. To the demon clan, 1 was 1 and 2 was 2. Lin Quan smiled faintly as he stood beside the 4 demon emperors. He really enjoyed this feeling. Below the 4 demon emperors, above all demons. He also knew that the 4 demon emperors were using him and did not really value him. However, wasn't he also using the demon clan? They used each other because they had needs and benefits for each other. Most of the time, this kind of benefit relationship was the most reliable. I didn't expect Big Brother to fail miserably and die in the wizard realm. With his personality, he would definitely have a backup plan. He most likely possessed the corpse wizard King Shebi. Without Kue Kuen's body, Big Brother has no place in the world of spirit beasts anymore. My second brother is also a Magus King. Now, I'm the only one who can control the entire world of spirit beasts. I can do whatever I want. Not only do the 4 demon emperors need me to fight against the commander, Big Brother and second brother also need me to take root in the demon clan. Lam Tok Ti's eyes changed and his lips turned cold. To him, this was an unprecedented opportunity. You want to use me? Let's wait and see who will have the last laugh. I want to let everyone know that only I, Lam Tok Ti, am worthy of being the true emperor of the Do Ling world. A cold smile flashed past. Lam Tok Ti's eyes were filled with ambition. He clenched his fists and gently opened them, as if he could embrace everything. Chaos. The Do Ling world was really in chaos. The sorcerer tribe had suffered a great loss in this battle, and their vitality had been greatly damaged. Sorcerer Emperor Jiang had to cut off the sorcerer tribe, and there was no reluctance at all. To him, the final result of the wizard clan's battle and the people of the wizard clan were the most important. Everything else was not important. Break. The devil race had launched a large-scale attack on the ancient race and the human race. The war had truly erupted. The demon tribe continued to increase their numbers, and their kaleidoscopic attacks swept across the entire continent of the Doe spirit world. The 8 human domain alliances were the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Similarly, the 7 ancient domains of the ancient race were also attacked to varying degrees. The attacks of the demon race seemed to have no target. They would shoot to the east and shoot to the west, but, however, the human race and the ancient race were dazzled. They did not know how to defend themselves. This was because no one knew when or where the demons would attack. In the ancestral Magi Palace, the highest authority of the witch tribe was concentrated. The 12 statues of ancestor Magi stood tall in the hall. Each of these statues had a ferocious face and a strong sense of power. The entire ancestor Magi Palace was filled with a solemn atmosphere. At this moment, not only was Shaman Emperor Jiang present, but the 12 shaman kings were also present. Their expressions were solemn and grave. The news of the shaman's defeat was too heavy. "Shaman Sovereign, we can't let the demons continue their rampage," bellowed Rushu. "Yes, the demons are attacking the human race and the ancient race like locusts. If we don't stop them, the consequences will be unpredictable." Gonggong's eyes were bright. "I don't think we should start a war with the demons at this stage." Zhu Meng's face was pale, and he was extremely weak. "Zhu Meng, are you scared out of your wits by the demons?" Rushu snorted. His eyes were bright and filled with disdain. "What did you say?" Zhu Meng shouted angrily. "All right, the enemy is right in front of us. Don't panic," Shaman Emperor Jiang said with a cold expression. His burning eyes carried a bright light as he slowly swept his gaze across the shaman kings. In the end, his gaze landed on a face that seemed to be fluctuating as he said, "Jiu Yin, what do you think?" Swoosh. There was a commotion. The person that Shaman Emperor Jiang asked was none other than the Candle Dragon. Not only were the shaman kings surprised, but even the Candle Dragon himself was slightly stunned. He did not expect Shaman Emperor Jiang to ask for his opinion. Everyone knew that he and Di Jiang were not on good terms. They minded their own business and were strangers to each other during every meeting. But this time, a bright light flashed. The Candle Dragon was expressionless as he said calmly, "The mastermind behind the demons is not simple." Wow. The Candle Juin's words immediately caused a heated discussion. The shaman kings were shocked and curious. However, Zhu Meng and the other shaman kings didn't say anything. After participating in this war, their understanding of the demon race surpassed the other demon kings. "Continue," Shaman Emperor Jiang said calmly. The Candle Dragon's voice was gloomy. The Shaman Emperor personally led the army but suffered a crushing defeat. This is the first reason. Looking at the demon's current counterattack, this is the second reason. First, the demon's initial attack seems chaotic, but it's actually orderly. Just eliminating the demon's biggest drawback in the Second Great Shaman-Demon War is already very impressive. The Shaman King's eyes lit up. The demon's biggest drawback. There were many races and their system was chaotic. The 4 demon emperors were not willing to submit to anyone. The 5 demon kings and the 12 demon stars each had a part of the demon's power. The entire demon race was like an allied army. Although they were called demons, each type of demon was not united. If you look closely, you'll realize that the demon's power is actually based on the demon kings and the demon stars. Each demon king and demon star leads a demon army. This way, not only is the power centralized, but it can also unleash the demon's greatest power. Not to mention the other benefits of splitting up the attack, there are countless of them. These words enlightened all the shaman kings, and they instantly understood a great deal. Shaman Emperor Jiang's expression did not change. He only said calmly, "Then, in your opinion, how should we deal with this?" One sentence explained the content of this meeting. The rest of the shaman kings looked at him curiously. The candle dragon looked calm and said calmly, "Isn't the shaman emperor doing it now?" The same sentence stunned all the shaman kings. The shaman emperor was doing it now? Doing what? Good, very good. Shaman Emperor Jiang nodded. For the first time, he looked satisfied. He looked at the candle dragon with his bright eyes, but no one could guess what he was thinking. Suddenly, Shaman Emperor Jiang looked at the shaman kings and said, "I will be in seclusion for a while. From now on, all matters will be handled by the acting shaman emperor. The candle dragon has full authority. No further discussion." As his voice fell, it reverberated. This made all the shaman kings widen their eyes in shock. They didn't dare to believe it. Even the candle dragon was stunned. He did not expect Shaman Emperor Jiang to do this. However, Shaman Emperor Jiang did not explain at all. It was as if he had just made an insignificant decision. His figure flashed and his face turned pale. Then, he disappeared. Yen Imperial City, Lotus Garden. It was as calm as usual. Even though there were 4 more people, it was still so. They did not care about the storm outside. Jinji and Shijishin were focused on their cultivation and sprinting towards the peak of the saint level. Qian Love Emperor was even simpler. She used a heaven-grade treasure to recuperate and recover her body. The two of them combined into one. As for Lin Feng, he was still immersed in the sea of books. There was a house of gold in the books. If he missed this opportunity, he would not get another one. To Lin Feng, this was not only a great opportunity to increase his experience, but also a good opportunity to calm his heart. He could learn a lot from the books. Other than the shaman tribe, demon tribe, and the language of the stars, every type of book in the library of the Lotus Garden was relatively precious and rare in the human world. There were even many ancient books that were recorded in the shaman tribe's language. They included cultivation methods, acrobatics, divination, and so on. There were too many. It was as if he had opened up a sea of knowledge. To Lin Feng, all he had to do was to read and read continuously. Day after day passed. Time flew by. He simply read, practiced his spear, read and practiced his spear. Time passed slowly. He forgot about killing, forgot about fighting, and forgot about where he was. Entering his own world, Lin Feng was immersed in it. Every day, his experience was increasing. The realm of his spear skills was also increasing slowly. So, there are so many neutral races in the Douling world. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Lin Feng flipped through the secrets of the 8,000 races page by page. He looked at it clearly and memorized it. Although his clone did not have the help of the vast star eyes and the vast star eyes, his clone's aptitude was not ordinary. Even if he could not imprint the exact same memories, he could easily imprint simple memories. Golden Bow Wing Tribe, proficient in bows and arrows. Their arrows never miss. Berserk Tribe, with berserk genes in their blood. When they are angry, their bodies will swell violently. Their emotions will go berserk, and their strength will increase greatly. Heavenly Eye Tribe, with the 3rd Heavenly Eye as their leader. They are natural-born Heavenly Soul Masters. One race after another could be seen clearly. Not only were there introductions, but there were also illustrations that clearly depicted the characteristics of the various races. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He was completely attracted by the contents of the book. Now, his experience was much richer than when he had just entered the wizard realm. It had increased by more than a few times. Not to mention other things, just the language alone was enough. It would not be a problem for him to talk to the wizard tribe in the wizard tribe's language. He also mastered 80 to 90% of the galaxy's language. Even if he could not speak the most difficult language of the demon tribe, he could already understand it. As for the other things, including the more comprehensive foundation of weapon refinement, the identification of ores and metals, the records of star pills and star fruits, and even the records of the First and Second Great Witch Demon War, he knew a little about them. In the library, he could get everything he wanted. The introduction of the neutral races in the book, Secrets of the 8,000 Races, was an eye-opener for him. It was said that these neutral races had existed for a long time. They were the real natives of the Doling world. However, as the wizard tribe and the demon tribe grew stronger, and with the losses from the wars their numbers decreased. However, the survival of the fittest. There were still many neutral races with strong bloodlines that survived. This was the origin of the 3 imperial cities of the wizard tribe. The 3 imperial cities did not belong to the wizard tribe. They belonged to another force, heavenly spirit. It meant that they were the spiritual things of the heavens. In fact, it was an alliance of all the neutral races. However, the alliance was relatively loose. The 3 imperial cities were the bases of these neutral powerhouses. Of course, the wizard tribe, the ancient tribe, and the human tribe could enter and leave freely. Even Bei Longsho was not a real human. He was a mixed blood, like him, and had half the bloodline of the human tribe. Dong Tingsho, who he had seen previously, was a powerhouse of the Earth barbarian tribe. These might be recorded in the human territory, but it was definitely not recorded in such detail. Whoosh! Lin Feng flipped to a new page and looked down casually. However, he was completely stunned in an instant. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.